Hi guys, tonight we drift quietly into the frozen heart of the Russian winter. The wind is howling outside like a wild animal. It carries a bite that can freeze a drop of water before it hits the ground. Your breath hangs in the air like a thick white ghost. The iron of the train looks black against the endless white of the snow. You can feel the chill trying to reach through your heavy coat and touch your skin. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and if you want to let me know where you are listening from and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing those little snapshots of the world. Now dim the lights and let the story begin. You are standing on the edge of a great forest in a land called Siberia. It is a place where the winter is the boss of everything. The snow here is not like the soft dusting you might see in a city. It is deep and heavy. It has piled up until it reaches the middle of the trees. The sky above is a dark, heavy grey, and the sun has already hidden itself away for the night. You are wearing a coat made of thick, heavy wool. It feels like a warm hug around your shoulders, but even through the wool, you can feel the air trying to find a way in. On your feet, you have valinki. These are special boots that people in this part of the world have worn for a very long time. They are made of felted wool, pressed together until they are thick and tough. They don't have laces or zips. They are just soft grey tubes that keep your feet as warm as if they were tucked under a blanket by a fire. You take a step and the snow makes a loud, dry squeak. It is so cold that the snow has turned into tiny crystals of ice. Every step sounds like a little groan from the earth. Ahead of you, the train is waiting. It is the Trans-Siberian Express. This is a very special train. A long time ago, in the year 1891, people started building this railway. They wanted a way to travel across the whole of Russia, from the big cities in the west to the ocean in the east. It took many years and thousands of workers to lay the iron tracks across the frozen ground. Now, this train is like a moving village. It is a long dark line of iron and steel, sitting in the middle of a white world. Huge clouds of white steam rise from the front of the train. The engine is a massive steam machine. It breathes like a giant. You can hear a deep, low thumping sound coming from its metal chest. Thump, hiss, thump, thump. The steam is hot and wet. When it shoots out of the valves, it hits the freezing air and turns into a thick mist. This mist curls around the big iron wheels, hiding them from view. It makes the train look like it is floating on a cloud. You walk toward the metal steps of the first-class carriage. As you get closer, you feel a change in the air. On your left, the wind is still biting at your face, but on your right, the side of the train is giving off a gentle heat. The metal skin of the carriage is warm to the touch. You reach out a gloved hand and grab the brass rail. It is smooth and solid. You pull yourself up the 3 steps and push open the heavy door. The moment the door clicks shut behind you, the world changes. The roar of the wind stops. It becomes a very distant, lonely sound, like someone whispering in another room. You are now inside a long, narrow hallway. The air here is wonderful. It is thick and warm. It smells of wood smoke, old books, and the sweet scent of beeswax used to polish the walls. You stand in the entryway for a moment, just breathing. Your lungs feel a little tight from the cold, but the warm air of the train helps them relax. You take off your heavy wool hat and shake the snow from it. The white flakes fall onto the floor and melt instantly. They turn into tiny clear beads of water on the dark wood. You feel a sense of peace. Outside, the world is a dangerous frozen void. Inside, you are safe. The walls of this carriage are made of a dark wood called mahogany. It has been polished until it shines like a mirror. In the soft light of the lamps, the wood looks deep and red, like a glass of dark juice. There are brass handles and frames everywhere, and they glow with a soft golden light. This is not a plain train. This is a palace on wheels. A man walks toward you from the end of the hall. He is the carriage worker, known as a provodnik. He wears a smart blue uniform. His jacket has rows of shiny buttons that catch the light. He wears a flat cap pulled low over his eyes. He does not say much, but he gives you a kind, tired smile. He knows how cold it is out there. He takes your heavy coat and hangs it on a strong wooden peg. Without the weight of the coat, you feel light, as if you could float. He leads you down the hallway. The floor is covered with a thick, soft carpet. It is a deep crimson color, like a rose. As you walk, your boots make no sound at all. It is like walking on a cloud. Underneath your feet, you can hear a very soft hissing. It is a comforting sound, like a cat purring. These are the steam pipes. They run all along the floor of the train. The hot steam from the engine travels through these pipes to keep the rooms warm. You can feel the heat coming up through the soles of your feet. It is a steady, gentle warmth that never stops. You pass by several doors, all made of the same dark, glowing wood. Each door has a small brass number on it. Behind these doors, other people are settling in for the night. You can hear the very faint sound of a spoon clinking against a glass. You can hear the low murmur of a voice. But mostly, it is quiet. The train is built with thick walls and heavy glass to keep the silence in and the storm out. The worker stops at a door and opens it for you. This is your room for the night. It is small, but it feels very big because of how cozy it is. There is a long seat covered in soft blue velvet. It looks as soft as moss. There is a small table by the window with a lace cloth on it. The window is made of 2 layers of thick glass. Between the layers, there is a little bit of frost, but the inside of the glass is warm to the touch. On the table, there is something special. It is a podstekernik. This is a beautiful metal holder for a glass of tea. It is made of silver and has a big, sturdy handle. Inside the metal holder is a tall glass filled with dark, steaming tea. A slice of yellow lemon floats on the top. The tea is hot, and you can see the steam rising in thin curls. You pick up the glass. The metal holder is warm, but it keeps your fingers from getting too hot. You take a small sip. The tea is sweet and tastes like sunshine and summer gardens. It is the perfect thing to chase away the last bit of the Siberian chill. You sit down on the velvet seat. It sinks down on a little under your weight. It is the softest thing you have ever felt. You look out the window. The train has stopped. You are stuck in a snowdrift. The snowdrift is a big pile of snow that the wind has blown across the tracks. It is too deep for the train to push through right now. But you are not worried. The engine is still running. The steam is still flowing. The steam is still flowing. The night shift workers are busy. Out there in the dark, men are working to keep the fire in the engine burning. They are shoveling coal into the big furnace to make sure the steam keeps hissing through the pipes under your feet. You lean your head back against the velvet. The room is dim, lit only by a small lamp on the wall. The lamp has a shade made of frosted glass. It casts a soft orange light that makes the wood look even warmer. For a moment, you just sit in the silence. You listen to the sound of the wind outside. It is a high, thin whistle. It tries to get in, but it cannot. The heavy wood and the thick glass are too strong. You feel a deep sense of gratitude for this little room. It is a small bubble of warmth in a giant, frozen world. You think about the thousands of miles of track that stretch out behind you and the thousands of miles that lie ahead. The train is a miracle of iron and heat. It is a place where you can sleep peacefully while the snow piles up outside. You look at the tea glass in its silver holder. The light from the lamp reflects off the silver and makes little dancing spots of light on the ceiling. The tea is slowly cooling, but it is still warm enough to make your chest feel glowing and happy. You are not a passenger in a hurry anymore. You are a guest of the winter, tucked away in a safe wooden box. The carriage worker walks past your door again. You hear the soft thump-thump of his footsteps on the carpet. He's checking on the samovar. The samovar is a big, shiny metal urn at the end of the hall. It holds many liters of water and keeps it boiling all night long. It is the heart of the carriage. As long as the samovar is bubbling, there will be hot tea and warmth for everyone. You close your eyes for a second. You can feel the gentle vibration of the train. Even though it is not moving, the engine is alive. It hums with power. It is a low, steady sound that vibrates in your bones. It is a very sleepy sound. It reminds you of a big dog snoring by a fireplace. You feel your muscles start to let go. Your shoulders drop. Your hands relax on your lap. You open your eyes and look at the window again. The snow is falling in big, heavy flakes now. They hit the glass and slide down, leaving little trails. Beyond the glass, there is nothing but whiteness. No trees, no houses, no lights, just the empty, quiet snow. It is a beautiful sight when you're on this side of the glass. It makes the velvet seat feel even softer. It makes the tea taste even sweeter. You think about the history of this place. The people who lived here before the trains came. They had to travel on sleds pulled by horses. They had to wrap themselves in animal skins and fight the wind every step of the way. But you are sitting in a room with mahogany walls and steam heat. You are part of a new age of travel. where the wild winter can be watched from a comfortable chair. The night is still young, but the stillness of the train is making you feel very heavy. The air in the room is just the right temperature. It is not too hot, but it is warm enough that you don't need your coat. You feel a sense of wonder at how humans can build such things. We can take iron and water and fire and make a place of peace in the middle of a storm. You take another sip of your tea. The lemon gives it a little bit of a zing. You set the glass down in its silver holder. It makes a tiny clink as it touches the table. That small sound seems to fill the room, showing just how quiet everything else is. You take a deep breath in through your nose. You can smell the faint scent of coal from the engine. It is a dry, dusty smell that reminds you of old stoves and cozy nights. It is the smell of the train doing its job. You are safe. You are warm. The snow can fall as much as it wants. The wind can blow as hard as it likes. You are inside the night shift world, where the guardians of the train are watching over you. They are making sure the steam stays hot and the lamps stay lit. You don't have to do anything except sit here and let the warmth soak into your skin. You feel a slow, calm pulse in your chest. Everything is okay. The journey will continue when the time is right. But for now, the only thing that matters is the velvet, the wood, and the soft hiss of the steam. The train has come to a full and heavy stop. For many days, you've been used to the constant clack, 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 clack of the wheels hitting the gaps in the iron tracks. That sound was like a heartbeat. It was the rhythm of your life as you traveled across the vast, flat lands of Russia. But now that rhythm has ended. The great iron wheels are no longer turning. They are buried deep in a soft, white wall of snow. The silence that follows the stopping of a train is a very special kind of silence. It is heavy. It feels like a thick blanket has been dropped over the whole world. But the train is not truly silent. A steam engine is never fully quiet, even when it is standing still. It is a living thing made of iron, fire, and water. You sit in your room and listen to the sounds it makes as it settles into the snowdrift. The first thing you hear is the steam. It is a long, slow sigh. Sss, sss. It sounds like the engine is finally taking a rest after a long day of work. This steam is coming from the safety valves. These are small metal caps on top of the boiler. When there is too much pressure inside, the valves lift up to let some of the steam escape. It is the engine's way of staying safe. It doesn't want to hold too much power inside while it is not moving. The sound is very soft. It is like the sound of a kettle boiling on a stove in a faraway kitchen. It tells you that the fire is still alive. Up at the very front of the train, in the engine cab, the fireman is still working. The fireman is the man whose job is to feed the fire. He uses a heavy iron shovel to move coal from the back of the engine into the glowing red mouth of the furnace. Even though the train is stuck, the fireman cannot stop. He must keep the fire hot enough to make steam, because that steam is what keeps you warm. Here is an interesting fact about these old steam trains. They could not go forever without stopping. A steam engine needs a lot of water to make all that steam. Every 50 or 60 miles, the train had to stop at a big water tower. A giant pipe would swing out and fill the engine's tanks with fresh water. If the engine ran out of water, the fire would get too hot and the metal would melt. So, even here in the middle of a snowdrift, the workers have to keep a close eye on the water levels. They are the guardians of the heat. You lean your head against the cool glass of the window and listen more closely. You hear a sharp tink sound, then another one. Tink, click, ping. It sounds like someone is tapping a tiny hammer against the side of the train. This is the sound of the metal cooling down. When the train was moving, the big iron boiler was incredibly hot. Now that it is sitting in the freezing Siberian air, the metal is shrinking just a little bit. Every time it shrinks, it makes that little clicking sound. It is a very peaceful sound. It reminds you of a house settling down for the night. The smell of the engine drifts back to your window. It is a mix of many things. You can smell the sharp, dusty scent of the coal smoke. You can also smell the hot oil. To keep the big iron parts moving smoothly, the workers use a special kind of grease. In the old days, they often used something called tallow. Tallow is a simple kind of fat made from animals. They would put it in little brass cups called lubricators. As the metal got hot, the tallow would melt and run down into the moving parts to keep them slippery. The smell of melting tallow and hot iron is the true smell of a steam train. It is a heavy, rich smell that makes you feel like you are inside a powerful machine. Outside, the snow is piling up against the side of the carriage. You can hear it hitting the metal. It doesn't sound like rain. It is much softer. It is a tiny, dry tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. Thousands of little ice crystals are being thrown against the train by the wind. It sounds like the world is trying to whisper a secret to you. But the walls of the train are thick. They are made of strong wood and iron, with layers of felt and cloth in between. The cold stays outside and the warmth stays inside. You feel a tiny vibration under your feet. This is the water pump. It is a small machine that moves the hot water through the pipes of the train. You remember the pipes you felt under the carpet earlier. Now that the engine is still, you can hear the water moving more clearly. It makes a gentle gurgling sound, like a small brook flowing over stones. Glug, glug, hiss. This water is the lifeblood of the train. It carries the heat from the big fire at the front all the way to the very last carriage. Without this moving water, the rooms would turn into ice boxes in just a few minutes. You look down at the floor. You can see where the carpet meets the dark wood of the wall. There is a small brass grate there. If you put your hand near it, you can feel a steady stream of warm air rising up. It feels like a warm summer breeze on your palm. It is amazing to think that this heat started as a lump of black coal in a fire miles away from any city. The train is a very clever building. It takes the power of fire and the softness of water to make a place where you can be comfortable in the middle of a storm. Now, take a moment to be very still. Just listen to the silence of the snow. Outside the window, the white void is perfectly quiet. There are no birds singing. There are no trees rustling, because the wind has died down for a moment. There is only the train and the snow. The engine gives one more long, low sigh of steam. Sss. Then it is quiet again. The ticking of the metal has slowed down. The gurgling of the pipes is just a whisper. In this moment, you feel like the only person left in the world. You are in a tiny wooden room, wrapped in velvet, sitting in a sea of white. You think about the night shift workers out there. The driver and the fireman are sitting in the cab of the engine. The cab is open to the air at the back, so they can feel the freezing wind on their necks, while their faces are toasted by the heat of the fire. They're probably drinking tea just like you, but theirs is in a simple tin mug. They're talking in low voices, checking the brass gauges on the boiler. The gauges are round and have little needles that point to numbers. One gauge shows how much steam pressure is in the boiler. The fireman has to make sure the needle stays in the right place. If it goes too low, the train gets cold. If it goes too high, he has to let more steam out. He uses a big brass handle to open and close the valves. It is a careful dance between the fire and the water. This is the work that happens while you are sitting in your soft chair. You lean back and close your eyes. The sounds of the engine are like a lullaby. The low hum, the soft hiss, the gentle gurgle, they all blend together into one big warm sound. It is the sound of safety. It tells you that as long as the engine is breathing, you are tucked away from the winter. You feel your breathing start to match the rhythm of the steam. Slow and steady. In and out. The train feels very solid. Even though it is stuck in a drift, it feels like it is rooted deep into the earth. It is a heavy, powerful thing that the snow cannot break. You think about the wheels, which are over 4 feet tall. They are made of solid steel. Right now, they are resting on the iron tracks that are hidden deep under the white powder. Those tracks go on for thousands of miles. They are like a silver thread that connects one side of the world to the other. You feel a sense of wonder at the quiet power of the steam. It can pull thousands of tons of weight across a continent, and it can also gently warm a small glass of tea. It is a giant that has been tamed to take care of you. You feel the warmth from the floor pipes spreading up through your legs. It makes your muscles feel heavy and soft. The tension from the long day of travel starts to melt away, just like the snow melting on the hot engine. The engine makes one more little sounder metallic clonk. It is probably just a heavy door closing or a tool being set down. It is a blunt, honest sound. It reminds you that there are real people out there working with their hands to keep the world moving. They are the ones who make sure the night shift is a peaceful time for you. You feel a deep respect for the iron and the coal and the men who handle them. You look at the walls of your room again. The dark mahogany wood seems to soak up the light from your small lamp. The wood is old and has travelled this path many times before. It has seen many snowstorms and many long nights. It knows how to keep a secret. It knows how to keep you safe. The wood is warm to the touch, having soaked up the heat from the steam pipes all day long. The world outside is still white and still cold. But inside this carriage, the engine is singing its low mechanical song. It is a song of heat and water. It is a song of staying alive in a place where nothing else can survive the winter night. You listen to the hiss and the click and the gurgle. You let the sounds wash over you. They are the only sounds you need to hear. They tell you that everything is exactly as it should be. The watchmen are at their posts. The fire is burning. The steam is flowing. You are home. Even though you are in the middle of nowhere, you turn your gaze back to the window, pressing your forehead gently against the cool glass. The world outside is no longer the world you know. It has become a white void. In every direction, as far as you could possibly see if there were light, there is nothing but snow. It is a deep, heavy, and endless white. It covers the ground like a thick woolen blanket that has no beginning and no end. In this part of the world, people used to call this the Great Siberian Way. This was the name given to the path the train takes. But tonight, the path is hidden. The iron rails, the dark earth, and the low bushes are all gone. They have been swallowed by the winter. The snow is not just lying on the ground. It has piled up against the side of the train. You look down and see that the white powder has reached the bottom of your window. It is like the train is being tucked into bed by the storm. This is what a snowdrift does. The wind picks up the tiny dry flakes and pushes them against anything that stands in their way. Because the train is big and heavy, the snow has gathered here, building a soft wall that keeps us from moving. It looks like giant waves of white sand, frozen in place. Looking out into the dark, you notice that the sky and the ground have become the same color. It is a deep, dusty grey that turns to black far away. There are no stars tonight. The clouds are too thick and heavy with more snow. It feels like you are in a small, warm box floating in the middle of a cloud. It is a strange feeling, but it is not a scary one. You are inside, and the white world is outside. The glass between you is very strong. Here is a simple fact about this place. Siberia is one of the coldest places on the whole planet. In the middle of winter, the temperature can drop so low that a cup of hot water thrown into the air will turn into ice before it hits the ground. Some nights, it gets as cold as -40 degrees. That is a kind of cold that most people can never even imagine. It is a cold that can crack stones and make the trees in the forest pop like loud guns. But inside your room, you are as warm as a loaf of bread in an oven. You are safe from the biting teeth of the Siberian night. You see something moving outside. It is hard to tell what it is at first. Then you see the yellow glow of a torch. A torch is what we call a portable light, like a flashlight. One of the train workers is walking along the side of the carriage. He is checking the wheels. He is wrapped in so many layers of clothes that he looks like a big round bear. He moves slowly, lifting his knees high to get through the deep snow. Every time he breathes out, a huge cloud of white mist comes from his mouth. It looks like he has a small steam engine inside his chest, just like the train. He is carrying a long metal tool with a sharp end. This is a special ice scraper. He uses it to knock the frozen ice off the metal parts of the carriage. Clack, clack, clack. You hear the sound of the metal tool hitting the iron wheels. It is a sharp, clear sound in the quiet night. He wants to make sure the ice does not grow too thick. If the ice gets into the moving parts, it can freeze them solid. He is part of the night shift, the people who stay awake to make sure the world keeps turning. Even when the snow tries to stop it, you watch him for a minute. He stops and looks up at the windows of the train. He cannot see you because of the reflection on the glass, but you can see the light from his torch hitting the snowflakes. Each flake looks like a tiny sparkling diamond for a second before it disappears into the dark. He adjusts his scarf. It is a special kind of scarf called an Orenburg shawl. These are famous in Russia. They are made from the very soft hair of goats that live in the mountains. The hair is so fine that you could pull a whole large shawl through a tiny wedding ring. Even though it is thin and light, it is one of the warmest things in the world. It keeps the worker's face safe from the freezing wind. The worker moves on, his light fading into the grey mist. Now, the world outside is still again. You lean back and look at the frost starting to grow on the corners of the window glass. The frost makes beautiful patterns. It looks like tiny white trees, or feathers, or stars. This is a gift from the cold. It is trying to paint a picture on your window. You reach out and touch the glass where the frost is. It is very, very cold. Your finger leaves a small clear spot where the ice has melted. You can see through to the white world again, but only for a moment. Soon the cold will paint over your fingerprint with more white feathers. It is so quiet now. Take a moment to just feel the stillness. There is no wind right now. There are no voices. There is only the sound of your own heart and the very faint hum of the train. The world is resting. The snow is falling so softly that you cannot hear it, but you know it is there, adding more and more white to the world every second. It is a time for reflection. It is a time to think about how big the world is and how small we are inside it. The white world outside is beautiful in its own way. It is clean and pure. There is no dirt, no rubbish, and no noise. It is a world that has been scrubbed clean by the winter. You feel a sense of peace looking at it. It is like looking at a blank page in a book, waiting for a story to be written. The story of this night is a story of warmth and safety. It is a story of how we can find a cozy place even in the middle of a frozen desert. You think about the trees that must be out there, hidden by the dark. There are millions of pine trees and birch trees in Siberia. The birch trees have white bark, so they blend in with the snow. In the summer, these forests are full of green leaves and the sound of birds. But in the winter, the trees stand very still. They are sleeping just like you will be soon. They hold the weight of the snow on their branches without making a sound. They are strong, and they know that the spring will come eventually. But for now, they are part of the white silence. Your room feels even smaller and cozier when you think about the miles and miles of empty forest outside. The blue velvet of your seat feels thicker. The mahogany wood of the walls looks deeper. You are in a little sanctuary. A sanctuary is a safe place where nothing can hurt you. The train is your castle, and the snow is the moat that surrounds it. No one can reach you here. You are tucked away from all the worries of the world. You look at the small lamp on your wall again. The orange light is a perfect contrast to the blue and grey world outside the window. Blue is the colour of the cold, but orange is the colour of the fire. The little flame in the lamp is like a tiny piece of the sun that you have brought with you into the dark. It makes the room feel like it is glowing. You feel the warmth of the steam pipes under the floor again. The heat is steady. It never wavers. It is like a promise that the train makes to you. I will keep you warm as long as the night lasts. You think about the people who built this railway again. They had to work in this white world every day. They didn't have warm carriages to go back to. They lived in small wooden huts and ate simple food like black bread and cabbage soup. They were very tough people. They had to be. They were building a bridge across a continent. Every piece of iron they laid down was a victory over the cold. Because of their hard work, you can sit here tonight in your velvet chair, watching the snow fall. The snow starts to fall a little faster now. The flakes are bigger. They look like white moths dancing in the dim light. They hit the glass with a sound so soft you can only feel it if you listen with your whole body. It is a tiny thip, thip, thip. You watch one flake land on the glass. It stays there for a few seconds, showing you its perfect six-sided shape. It is a tiny work of art. Then the heat from the room reaches through the glass, and the flake turns into a clear drop of water. It slides down the pane, joining the other drops at the bottom. The world outside is a place of ice, but inside, everything is melting and soft. You feel your own thoughts becoming soft too. They are no longer sharp or fast. They are slow and gentle, like the falling snow. You are not thinking about where you are going or what you have to do tomorrow. You are only thinking about the white world and the orange lamp. You are only thinking about the soft hiss of the steam and the cold glass against your skin. The train gives a very slight shiver. It is just the metal settling deeper into the snow. It feels like the train is finding its comfortable spot, just like you are. It is a heavy, solid feeling. You know the train is not going anywhere for a while, and that is okay. There is nowhere else you need to be. The white world has stopped time for a little while. It has given you a break from the busy life of the world. You take a deep breath. The air in the room is warm and smells of the polished wood. You feel the weight of your own body on the cushions. The velvet is smooth under your hands. You are a part of the history of this train now. You are one of the thousands of people who have sat in this very spot and looked out at the same white void. You are all connected by the warmth of the steam and the cold of the Siberian night. The watchman outside has moved on and the silence has returned. Everything is still. Everything is white. Everything is warm. The room you are sitting in is small, but every inch of it has been made with great care. You run your hand over the seat next to you. It is covered in crimson velvet. Crimson is a deep, rich red, the colour of a dark berry. The velvet feels incredibly soft, like the fur of a kitten. When you brush your hand one way, the fabric looks bright and shiny. When you brush it the other way, it turns a little darker. This is because the tiny threads of the velvet are standing up like a field of grass. It is a thick, heavy cloth that was chosen because it feels warm against your skin. In a place as cold as Siberia, the feeling of soft cloth is a great comfort. The seat is not just soft on the outside, it is very bouncy and deep. Underneath the velvet, there are many metal springs and layers of horsehair and wool. This was how people made comfortable furniture before they had foam or plastic. It makes the seat feel firm but kind to your body. You can sink into it and it feels like it is holding you. It is the kind of chair that invites you to stay for a long time. You don't feel like a traveler on a journey right now. You feel like a guest in a very fine house. The walls of the carriage are just as special as the seats. They're made of mahogany. This is a very strong wood that comes from faraway warm places. It has a beautiful grain, which means the natural lines and patterns in the wood are very pretty to look at. The wood has been rubbed with oil and beeswax until it glows. In the light of your small lamp, the walls look like they're made of dark gold or honey. If you lean close, you can smell the wax. It is a sweet, clean smell that reminds you of old libraries and quiet places. The wood is very smooth. You can run your fingers along the panels and not find a single rough spot. There are small carvings near the ceiling, little shapes of flowers and leaves cut into the wood by a clever worker's hand. These small details were put there just to make the eyes happy. Even though the train is a machine made of iron and steam, the inside is made of things from the forest. It makes the room feel natural and calm. The wood also helps to keep the room quiet. It is thick enough to stop the sounds of the other passengers from bothering you. On the back of your seat, there is a small piece of white lace. This is called an antimacassar. It is a funny word, but it has a simple job. A long time ago, men used to put a lot of oil in their hair to keep it neat. They used a type of oil called macassar oil. The little white cloth was put on the back of the chair to keep the oil from staining the expensive velvet. It is held in place by tiny brass pins. The lace is very white and has a pattern of little stars. It looks very neat and tidy against the dark red of the seat. It is a small thing, but it shows that the people who run this train want everything to be perfect for you. Here is a fact about these trains. During the time this railway was built, the Russian trains were some of the most beautiful in the whole world. The people who owned the railway wanted the first-class carriages to be even better than the best hotels in Paris or London. They spent a lot of money on the best wood, the best cloth, and the best lamps. They wanted their passengers to feel like kings and queens, even if they were stuck in a snowdrift in the middle of nowhere. When you look around your room, you can see that they succeeded. You look at the floor. It is covered by a carpet that is thick enough to hide your toes. It is the same red color as the seats, but with a pattern of dark blue flowers woven into it. This carpet does more than just look pretty. It acts like an extra layer of clothes for the floor. It keeps the cold metal of the train's frame far away from your feet. Between the carpet and the wood of the floor, there are layers of felt made from sheep's wool. This keeps the heat from the steam pipes inside the room where it belongs. You lean your head back against the seat. Take a moment to just feel the textures around you. The softness of the velvet against your arms, the smooth, cool wood of the window frame, the way the heavy carpet feels under your boots. The room is a mix of many different feelings, but they are all gentle. There is nothing sharp or hard here. Everything has been softened and polished for your comfort. The silence in the room is deep, and the only thing you can hear is the very soft creak of the wood as the train settles. The wood makes a little sound, like a tree swaying in a gentle wind, creak, groan. It is not a scary sound. It is the sound of the carriage breathing. Because the train is made of wood and metal, it moves a little bit when the temperature changes. The mahogany is very old, and it has its own voice. It tells you that it is strong enough to hold up the roof and keep the snow away. You feel a sense of trust in this little room. It has been built by people who knew how to make things last. You look at the door of your room. It has a big brass handle that is shaped like a curve. The brass is bright and shiny. You can see the reflection of your lamp in it. Every day, the worker in the blue coat uses a cloth to polish this brass until it shines. This is part of the night shift work that keeps the train looking beautiful. They don't just keep the engine running, they keep the beauty alive too. They make sure that no matter how messy the snow is outside, the inside of the train is always clean and bright. Above the door, there is a small shelf made of brass netting. This is where you can put your hat or a small bag. It looks like a golden spider web. It is very strong even though it looks delicate. Everything in this room has a place. It is a very tidy way to live. When you are in a small space like this, you start to notice the little things more. You notice how the light catches the edge of a wood panel. You notice how the velvet feels when you move your arm. You notice the tiny stitches in the lace cloth. You look at the heavy curtains hanging by the window. They are made of a thick blue cloth called damask. Damask is a special kind of fabric where the pattern is woven right into the cloth, so it shows on both sides. These curtains are very heavy. At the bottom, they have a row of gold tassels that swing just a little bit when the train moves. These tassels are made of many tiny silk threads bundled together. They feel like cool water when you run them through your fingers. The curtains are pulled back right now, held by a thick golden cord. But you know that when you are ready to sleep, those curtains will shut out the world. They are so thick that they can stop the light and the cold from coming through the glass. They are like a second wall. The combination of the red velvet and the blue damask makes the room feel very colourful and warm. It is a bright spot in a world that is mostly grey and white tonight. You feel a deep sense of calm. The dark wood and the soft velvet are like a shield. They protect you from the wildness of the Siberian forest. Out there, the wind is sharp and the trees are cold. But here, the wood is warm and the cloth is soft. You feel like you are being looked after. Every part of this room was designed to make you feel safe. The people who build this train thought about how a person feels when they are far from home. They knew that a soft seat and a warm room can make all the difference. You look at your hands resting on the velvet. They look pale against the deep red fabric. You realize how still you are. Usually, life is very fast. You are always going somewhere or doing something. But here, stuck in the snow, you have the gift of time. You have nothing to do but feel the velvet and look at the wood. You have nothing to do but listen to the quiet. It is a rare thing to be so still. The lamp on the wall flickers just a little bit. The light dances across the mahogany panels, making the shadows move slowly. The shadows are soft and blurred. They don't look like monsters. They look like old friends. You watch the way the light plays on the grain of the wood. It looks like a flowing river of gold. You feel your eyes getting a little bit heavy. The beauty of the room is very relaxing. It is not a loud beauty that shouts at you. It is a quiet beauty that whispers sleep. You think about the forest again. The mahogany in this room once grew in a forest far away. The wool for the velvet came from sheep on a green hill. The brass for the handles came from deep in the earth. All these pieces of the world have been brought together to make this one little room for you. It is a very kind thought. You are surrounded by the best things the earth can give. The carriage worker walks past the door again. His footsteps are a soft thud, thud on the heavy carpet. He's a quiet shadow in the hallway, making sure everyone is comfortable. He might be going to check the heater or to polish another brass handle. He is part of the rhythm of the train. You feel a connection to him and to everyone else on this journey. You are all wrapped in the same velvet and wood, waiting for the morning together. You take one last look at the room before you lean back to rest. The red of the velvet, the gold of the brass, and the deep red-brown of the wood. It is a very warm palette of colours. It feels like the inside of a jewel box. You are the jewel, safe and protected in your velvet nest. The world outside can stay white and cold. You have everything you need right here. You have the warmth of the steam, the strength of the mahogany, and the softness of the crimson cloth. You are ready for the long night. You reach out and take hold of the glass sitting on the small table. It is still very hot. The tea inside is a deep, dark brown colour, almost like the mahogany wood of the walls. This is not just any tea. In this part of the world, tea is more than just a drink. It is a way to stay alive when the world turns to ice. It is a way to bring people together. On the Trans-Siberian Railway, the tea service never stops. Whether the train is flying across the tracks or sitting still in a snowdrift, the tea must always be ready. You lift the glass closer to your face. The steam rises up in a thin dancing ribbon and touches your nose. You take a deep breath. The tea has a very special smell. It smells like a campfire. It smells of old wood and dry leaves burning in the crisp night air. This is because of the way the tea was brought to Russia a long time ago. Before the trains were built, tea came from China on the backs of camels. This was called the tea road. The journey took many months. Every night, the men looking after the camels would build big fires to stay warm and keep the wolves away. The tea, sitting in bags on the camels' backs, would soak up the smell of the smoke from those fires. People liked this smoky taste so much that even today, the tea on the train is made to taste exactly like those old campfires. You wrap your fingers around the podstakanik. This is the metal holder that keeps the glass steady. The word is a bit of a mouthful, but it simply means under the glass. It is a beautiful piece of work. This one is made of silver, and it has a big, strong handle that is easy to hold even if your hands are a bit stiff from the cold. On the side of the metal, there is a tiny picture of a train and a rising sun. It is a very sturdy thing. In the old days, the tracks were sometimes bumpy, and the glass might slide off the table, but the podstakanik has a wide, heavy base that keeps it right where it belongs. It is a clever tool made by people who knew all about life on the move. The glass itself is thin and clear. You can see the tiny bits of lemon floating near the top. The lemon is a bright, happy yellow. It looks like a little piece of summer trapped in a winter drink. You take a small spoon and stir the tea. The spoon is made of silver too, and it makes a soft, musical tink-tink against the side of the glass. This is the sound of the night shift in the sleeper cars. It is a sound that every traveller knows. It means that comfort is near. You watch the tea swirl around, the dark liquid mixing with a little bit of sugar you added. The sugar makes the tea look shiny and thick. You take a sip. The heat is the first thing you feel. It moves from your lips to your tongue, and then it travels all the way down to your chest. It feels like a warm glow is spreading through your body. The taste is strong and a bit bitter, but the sugar and the lemon make it perfect. The smoky flavour is there too, reminding you of the big engine at the front of the train and the fires that keep it moving. It is a very honest taste. It doesn't try to be fancy. It is just warm and strong. Exactly what you need. Now, take a moment to be very quiet. Watch the steam rise from your glass. In the dim light of the room, the steam looks like a tiny swirling ghost. It moves up and out, vanishing into the warm air of the carriage. You can see the reflection of the lamp in the dark surface of the tea. The liquid is perfectly still now that you have stopped stirring. It is like a tiny dark lake. In this moment of silence, you feel the world outside get even further away. The only things that exist are you, the tea, and the soft heat of the room. You feel your heart beat a little slower. Your mind feels clear and calm. Here is a historical fact about the tea on these trains. In the early days of the railway, the tea was free for anyone travelling in first class. The workers would bring it to your room whenever you wanted. They would also bring small snacks, like a piece of black bread or a hard biscuit. Tea was seen as a right, not a treat. The Russian people believed that a person could not think or talk properly without a glass of hot tea in their hand. It was the fuel for conversation. On a long journey across the snow, people would spend hours drinking tea and telling stories to pass the time. You look at the end of the glass where the tea is darkest. You think about the samovar at the end of the hall. The samovar is the big metal machine that holds the hot water. It is a very old invention. Inside the samovar, there is a tube where a small fire of charcoal or pine cones burns. This fire keeps the water boiling all day and all night. The worker in the blue coat makes sure the fire never goes out. He adds more charcoal whenever it gets low. This is his most important job. Without the samovar, the carriage would lose its heart. The sound of the water bubbling in the samovar is like the sound of the train's own breath. You feel the weight of the silver holder in your hand. It is solid and cool on the handle, even though the glass is hot. You think about how many people have held this very same podstakanik. Maybe a famous writer sat here 50 years ago, looking at the same snow and drinking the same smoky tea. Maybe a family was moving to a new home in the east, feeling scared and excited. The train holds all these memories in its wood and its metal. When you drink the tea, you are joining a long line of travellers who have found peace in this small, warm space. The lemon in your tea has started to soften. The juice has mixed with the water, giving it a sharp, fresh taste. It cuts through the bitterness of the tea. You think about how hard it must be to get fresh lemons out here in the middle of Siberia. They have to be brought from faraway places where the sun is hot. Everything on this train is a small miracle. The wood from the forest, the tea from China, the lemons from the south, and the coal from deep in the earth. It all comes together to make this moment possible. You take another sip. The tea is a bit cooler now, so you can take a bigger gulp. The warmth fills your belly. You feel a sense of well-being. It is the feeling of being looked after. You are not just a person on a train. You are part of a system that works very hard to keep you comfortable. The night shift workers are moving quietly in the background, their boots making soft sounds on the carpet. They are checking the fire in the samovar. They are making sure the tea glasses are clean and ready. They are the guardians of the tea. You look at the small plate on your table. There is a tiny piece of dry bread there. It is a sushka. A sushka is a small, hard, ring-shaped roll. It is a very common snack in Russia because it stays fresh for a long time. It is almost as hard as a rock. To eat it, you have to dip it into your hot tea for a few seconds. You pick up the sushka and drop it into the glass. You watch it bob up and down in the dark water. The hot tea starts to soak into the bread, making it soft and sweet. This is a very old way of eating. It is simple and satisfying. You pull the sushka out with your spoon and take a bite. It is warm and tastes of wheat and tea. It is not a big meal, but it is enough to make you feel settled. The act of dipping and eating is very slow. It forces you to take your time. You cannot rush a sushka. You have to wait for the tea to do its work. This is the lesson of the train tonight. You cannot rush the snow. You have to wait for the night shift to do their work. You have to be patient and enjoy the small things, like the taste of warm bread and the smell of smoky tea. The room is very quiet again. The wind aside has picked up just a little, and you can hear a low moan as it passes over the roof of the carriage. It sounds like a lonely animal, looking for a place to sleep, but the sound only makes you feel more secure. You are not out there in the wind. You are here, with your silver tea holder and your soft velvet seat. You feel a little bit like a king in a castle. The walls are thick, the fire is burning, and you have everything you need. You look at the bottom of your glass. There are a few tea leaves that have escaped the strainer. They look like tiny dark fish swimming in the last bit of liquid. Some people say you can tell the future by looking at tea leaves. But you don't need to know the future. You are happy right here in the present. The present is warm. The present is quiet. The present tastes of smoke and lemon. You feel a wave of sleepiness wash over you. The tea has done its job. It has warmed your blood and relaxed your mind. You set the empty glass back down on the lace cloth. The metal base of the podstakarnik makes a tiny click as it touches the wood. You lean back and let out a long sigh. You feel very heavy and very still. Your hands stay resting on the arms of the chair, and your feet are tucked close to the warm pipes on the floor. The world of the night shift continues all around you, but you are ready to just be. You are ready to listen to the silence of the snow and the breathing of the engine. The tea was the perfect end to the day. It was a gift of warmth in a land of ice. You close your eyes for just a second, still smelling the faint scent of the campfire on your breath. Everything is quiet. Everything is well. You decide to stand up for a moment to stretch your legs. The movement is slow and careful, as your body feels heavy from the warmth of the tea. You slide the compartment door open. It moves with a smooth, oiled sound. Stepping out into the hallway, the first thing you notice is the light. It is dim and golden, coming from small lamps spaced along the mahogany walls. The hallway is long and narrow, like a secret passage in a wooden castle. At the far end of the carriage, near the workers' small station, stands the object that makes all this comfort possible. It is the samovar. The samovar is a large, magnificent urn made of polished brass. In the soft light, it shines like a fallen star. It is tall and round, sitting on a sturdy metal base with 4 small feet that look like lions' paws. To the Russian people of this time, the samovar was the most important thing in the house. It was a symbol of being welcome and being safe. On the train, it is the heart of the night shift. It never sleeps. It stays here year after year, boiling water for thousands of miles. As you walk toward it, the sound gets louder. It is not a loud noise, but a busy one. It is a gentle bubbling and a high, thin whistle. People say that a samovar sings. When the water starts to get hot, the air moving through the metal pipes makes a sound like a tiny flute. As the water boils harder, the sound changes to a deep, happy hum. You stand there for a moment in the quiet hallway, just listening to the samovar sing its song. It is a very old sound. It is the sound of home, even when you are moving at 60 miles an hour through a forest. Here is a historical fact about how this machine works. A samovar is not like a modern kettle. Inside the big brass body, there is a metal tube that goes right down the middle. This tube is where the fire lives. The worker takes small pieces of charcoal or dried pine cones and drops them down the tube. He lights them at the bottom, and the heat from the fire travels up the tube, warming the water that surrounds it. Because the fire is inside the water, no heat is wasted. It is a very clever way to keep water boiling for a long time, using only a tiny bit of fuel. The air around the samovar is different from the rest of the carriage. It is a little bit damp and smells of pine needles. This is because the worker often uses pine cones from the Siberian forests to keep the fire going. It is a sharp, clean smell that reminds you of the trees outside, but here it is warm and friendly. You see a small cloud of steam escaping from a tiny hole in the lid. The steam rises up and hits the wood of the ceiling, making the mahogany look dark and wet. You notice a small teapot sitting right on top of the samovar. This is called a zavane. It is a small ceramic pot where a very strong tea mixture is kept warm by the rising heat of the boiling water. To make a drink, the worker pours a little bit of this strong tea into a glass and then fills the rest with the hot water from the samovar's brass tap. This way, the tea is always fresh and always the perfect temperature. The tap has a handle shaped like a little bird. It is smooth and warm from the water inside. Take a moment now to just look at the reflections on the brass. The curved surface of the samovar acts like a mirror. You can see the whole hallway reflected in it, but the shapes are stretched and funny. You see the golden lamps, the red carpet, and the dark wood all swirling together on the shiny metal. It makes the hallway feel endless. In this quiet moment, the train feels like a magical place. The world of clocks and schedules has stopped. There is only the bubbling of the water and the smell of the pine smoke. You feel a deep sense of peace standing there, watching the steam curl into the air. The microhistory of the samovar is hidden in its fuel. The worker has a small wooden box near his feet. Inside are the charcoal bricks and the pine cones. He picks one up with a pair of metal tongs. It is a small brown cone, sticky with dried sap. He drops it into the top of the samovar. You hear a tiny hiss as it hits the heat, and then the smell of the forest grows a little stronger. This is the work of the night shift. While the passengers sleep, the worker stays here, feeding the little fire, making sure the song of the samovar never stops. You think about how many people have stood right where you are standing. In the middle of the night, when the carriage is dark and the wind is blowing against the glass, they have come here to find a bit of warmth. The samovar is like a campfire that has been brought inside and tamed. It gives off a gentle heat that you can feel on your face as you stand near it. It is a solid, heavy thing that makes the whole train feel more stable. The worker in the blue coat comes back from the other end of the hall. He sees you looking at the samovar and nods his head. He doesn't need to say anything. He knows that the samovar is a beautiful thing to watch. He takes a clean cloth from his pocket and gives the brass a quick rub. He wants it to stay bright. He is proud of his machine. It is his job to keep the heart of the carriage beating. He checks the water level and adds a little more from a copper bucket. The samovar makes a loud gurgle as the cold water hits the hot, and then it goes back to its steady, happy hum. You feel the floor vibrate slightly under your feet. It is the engine far ahead, still breathing, still pushing steam through the pipes. But here, at the samovar, the heat feels more personal. It is a heat you can touch. You reach out and hover your hand in the metal. You can feel the energy of the fire inside. It is a powerful feeling. You are in one of the most frozen places on Earth, yet you are inches away from a glowing fire and boiling water. It is a victory over the winter. You start to walk slowly back to your room. The sound of the samovar follows you for a few steps, a soft whistling that fades as you move away. The hallway feels even cozier now that you have seen the source of the warmth. You know that no matter how long the train is stuck in the snow, there will always be hot water. There will always be tea. There will always be a small fire burning in the heart of the brass urn. The transition from the hallway back into your room is like stepping into a second, smaller hug. You close the door and sit back down on the red velvet. The silence returns, but it is a different kind of silence now. It is a silence that feels full of life. You can still hear the faint singing of the samovar in your mind. It is a comforting thought to hold on to as the night grows darker. You look at the empty glass on your table. You know that if you wanted more, you could just walk back down the hall and the night shift worker would be there, ready to turn the brass tap. The train is a place of endless care. It is a machine designed to keep the cold at bay and the spirit warm. You lean your head against the mahogany wall and close your eyes. The warmth of the room, the smell of the pine, and the memory of the singing brass all swirl together. You feel safe. You feel looked after. The Samovar is watching over the carriage, and all is well. You turn your attention to the door of your room. It is a heavy piece of work. It is not like the thin, light doors you might find in a house today. This door is thick and solid. It is made of 2 layers of mahogany wood with a space in between. That space is filled with a thick layer of felt made from sheep's wool. The people who built this train knew that wood is good at holding heat, but wool is even better. This door is a wall. When it is shut, the rest of the train disappears. You are in your own private world. You reach out and touch the handle. It is a large piece of solid brass. It feels heavy and cool in your hand. The handle is shaped like a smooth curve, fitting perfectly into the palm of your hand. To lock the door, there is a big brass bolt. You slide it across, and it makes a deep, satisfying thunk sound. It is a sound of safety. It tells you that no one can come in unless you want them to. In the middle of the dark Siberian night, this little bit of brass and wood makes you feel like you are inside a strong box. Look at the edges of the door. There is a strip of dark, soft leather running all the way around the frame. This is a very important detail. It is a seal. When the door is closed, the leather is pressed tight against the wood. This stops any tiny puffs of cold air from coming into your room. It also stops the sounds from the hallway from reaching your ears. The night shift workers make sure these leather strips stay soft and oily. If the leather gets dry, it might crack and the cold could sneak in. But these strips are well cared for. They're as soft as a glove. Now look at the window again. It is perhaps the most important part of the whole room. It is your only way to see the white world outside, but it is also the place where the cold tries hardest to get in. If this were just a single sheet of glass, the room would be freezing. You would see thick ice forming on the inside within minutes. But this is a special train window. It has 2 very thick panes of glass with a small gap between them. This gap is filled with still air. Still air is one of the best ways to keep heat where it belongs. The warmth of the room hits the first pane of glass, but it cannot easily jump across the gap to the second pane. The second pane stays cold, facing the snow, while the first pane stays warm, facing you. It is a clever bit of engineering. It allows you to sit right next to the window without feeling a chill. You can put your face just inches away from the freezing storm and still feel the heat from the floor pipes on your legs. Take a moment to put your hand on the wooden frame of the window. The wood is cool, but not cold. You can feel the vibration of the wind hitting the outside of the glass. It is a very faint tremor, like the purring of a giant cat. Though, um, even though the wind is pushing hard against the train, the glass does not rattle. It is held in place by heavy brass frames and thick putty. Everything is tight. Everything is solid. You feel like you are inside a submarine, but instead of water, you are surrounded by an ocean of snow. Here is a historical fact about these windows. In the early days of the railway, they didn't have the technology to make huge sheets of perfect glass. If you look closely at the corners, you might see a tiny wave or a little bubble in the glass. This is because the glass was made by hand. Workers would blow a giant glass cylinder, cut it, and flatten it out while it was still hot. Because it was made by people and not machines, every window has its own little fingerprint. It makes the view of the snow look a little bit like a painting. The micro-history of this window is found in the small brass handle at the bottom. It is a lift handle. If you wanted to, you could pull the handle up and slide the window down into the wall. But tonight, that handle is locked tight. There is a small leather strap with holes in it, like a belt, that keeps the window from moving. This strap is made of very tough cowhide. In the summer, you would use it to let in the fresh air of the forest. But tonight, the strap is pulled to its tightest hole. It is part of the barrier that keeps you alive. You look at the way the light from your lamp hits the glass. Because there are 2 panes, you see 2 reflections of the flame. One is bright and clear, and the other is a bit softer and further away. It looks like 2 tiny candles are floating out in the snow. They are your only company in the dark. They dance and flicker as the lamp oil burns. It is a very peaceful sight. You feel a sense of wonder that something as thin as glass can stand up to a Siberian winter. Outside, the snow has reached a point where it is covering the bottom part of the window frame. It looks like a white wall is rising up. You can see the individual crystals of snow pressed against the glass. They are not melting. This shows you how good the insulation is. The heat from your room is staying inside, so the glass on the outside is cold enough to keep the snow frozen. It is a perfect balance. You're in a warm bubble, and the snow is a cold shell around you. You think about the night shift workers who have to go outside. When they step through the big doors at the end of the carriage, they have to move quickly. They open one door, step into a small buffer area, close that door, and then open the outside door. This is called a vestibule. It is like a small room that catches the cold before it can get into the rest of the train. Every time a worker goes out to check the engine or clear the tracks, they have to fight the wind. They know better than anyone how important these thick doors and heavy glass panes are. The silence in your room is so deep that you can hear the sound of your own breathing. In and out, in and out, in and out. It is a slow, steady rhythm. You feel your heartbeat slowing down to match it. The room is a place of total stillness. The thick wood of the door and the heavy glass of the window are working together to keep the world away. You don't have to think about the snow. You don't have to think about the wind. You are safe in your wooden castle. You look at the brass bolt on the door again. It reflects the orange light of the lamp. You think about the word safety. In the city, safety means many things. But out here, in the middle of a snowdrift, safety is very simple. It is a thick door. It is a warm pipe. It is a piece of glass that doesn't break. You feel a deep appreciation for the people who designed this train. They didn't just build a machine for travel, they built a machine for survival. You lean back into the crimson velvet of your seat. The softness of the cloth and the strength of the wood make a perfect pair. One gives you comfort and the other gives you protection. You feel very small in the middle of the vast Siberian forest, but you also feel very powerful. You have the power of fire and steam on your side. You have the cleverness of human hands all around you. The engine far ahead makes a low, rumbling sound. It is a deep bass note that you feel in your chest. It is followed by a soft hiss of steam. The sounds are muffled by the thick walls of the carriage. They sound like they're coming from miles away, even though the engine is just a few cars ahead. This is the magic of the insulation. It turns the roar of the machine into a gentle whisper. It turns the scream of the wind into a soft sigh. You close your eyes and imagine the layers of the train. There is the dark mahogany wood, the thick felt, the heavy iron frame, and the deep crimson velvet. There is the warm air, the still air between the glass, and the freezing air outside. You are at the very center of all these layers. You are tucked away like a seed in a shell. You feel a wave of warmth wash over your body. It starts at your feet and moves all the way up to your head. It is a very heavy, sleepy feeling. You think about the leather seal around the door again. It is such a small thing, but without it, the room would be different. You would hear the whistling of the wind. You would feel a tiny draft on your neck. It is the small details that make the night shift on the train so special. The workers who oil the leather and polish the brass are the ones who make this piece possible. They are the ones who make sure the barrier between you and the winter is perfect. The lamp on the wall gives a tiny pop as the flame settles. The shadows on the mahogany walls shift slightly. You watch them move. They look like the branches of trees swaying in a dream. You feel your mind starting to wander. You are thinking about the long journey ahead, but the thoughts are slow and blurry. You are happy to stay right here, behind your thick door and your heavy glass. The world outside is a white void, and the world inside is a golden room. You are the bridge between the two, but you are staying firmly on the golden side. You reach out and touch the velvet of the seat one more time. It is so soft. You feel a sense of deep gratitude. You are warm, you are quiet, you are safe. The heavy glass is holding back the winter, and the thick wood is holding you in. Everything is exactly as it should be. The watch is being kept. The fire is burning. You can rest now. You decide to leave your room for a moment to stretch your legs. The hallway is long and straight, like a narrow street made of golden wood. You begin a quiet walk down the hall. Under your feet, the floor is steady. Even though the train is stopped and the snow is falling, the carriage feels as solid as a house built on stone. Your boots make no sound on the thick red carpet. This carpet is very special. It is held down by long brass rods at the edges where the floor meets the wall. These rods are polished until they shine like bars of gold. As you walk, you look at the walls. Every few feet, there is a small golden lamp. These lamps do not use electricity. They burn a special kind of clear oil. Each lamp has a round glass chimney to keep the flame steady. The light is soft and yellow. It makes the mahogany wood look like it is glowing from the inside. The light does not reach all the way to the ceiling, so the top of the hallway is in a soft fuzzy shadow. It feels like you are walking through a dream. The air in the hallway is slightly cooler than in your room, but it is still very pleasant. It feels fresh. You can smell the scent of the tea from the samovar and the faint, dry smell of the coal dust. It is a very clean smell. It reminds you that even though this is a powerful machine, it is also a very tidy place. The night shift workers take great pride in keeping the hallway clean. You don't see a single speck of dust on the wood or a single bit of rubbish on the carpet. You pass the small station where the carriage worker sits. He has a tiny desk made of the same dark wood. On the desk is a logbook where he writes down the time and anything important that happens. There is also a small brass clock. Tick, tick, tick. The sound of the clock is very clear in the quiet hallway. It is a friendly sound. It tells you that time is still moving, even if the train is not. The worker is not there right now. He is likely at the other end of the carriage, checking the heaters or helping another passenger. Here is a historical fact about these carriages. In the year 1900, at a big show in Paris, the Russian railway showed off a carriage just like this one. People from all over the world came to see it. They were amazed that a train could be so beautiful and warm. They called it a palace on wheels. The Russians were very proud because they built something that could defeat the coldest weather on Earth while still being very fancy. You reach the end of the hallway where the two carriages meet. There is a heavy door here with a small window. You look through the window into the vestibule. This is the small room between the cars. It is much colder there. You can see frost on the metal walls. This area acts like a lock on a canal. It keeps the big blast of winter air from coming into the warm hallway when someone moves between the cars. It is a very smart design. It shows how much the builders thought about the comfort of the people inside. You turn around to walk back. From this end of the hall, the view is even prettier. The lamps look like a line of stars stretching into the distance. The red carpet looks like a long river. You feel very tall and very calm. The vibration of the engine is very faint here. It is just a tiny hum that you feel in the soles of your feet. It is the sound of the train's heart beating. It tells you that the night shift is still working hard at the front of the train to keep the steam flowing. Take a moment to stop and look at one of the lamps. The flame is very small and steady. It sits behind the glass, safe from any breeze. You can see the tiny waves of heat rising from the top of the lamp. The light catches the grain of the wood next to it, showing the beautiful lines that grew in a tree many years ago. It is very quiet. For a few seconds, you don't hear any sounds at all. Not the wind, not the engine, not even your own breathing. It is a moment of perfect peace. You feel like the train is a safe island in a giant white ocean. The micro-history of this hallway is in the brass rods that hold the carpet. If you look closely at the ends of the rods, you can see a small symbol. It is the crest of the Russian Tsar. It is a bird with two heads. This symbol was put on almost everything on the train to show that it belonged to the empire. It was a sign of power and quality. These rods are not just for looks. They are heavy and strong. They keep the carpet from sliding or bunching up, so no one trips in the dark. You continue your walk. You feel a sense of wonder at how still everything is. Usually, a train is full of movement. People are walking, children are playing, and the carriage is swaying from side to side. But tonight, the snow has given everyone the gift of rest. The other passengers are likely tucked away in their rooms, just like you were. They are reading or talking quietly, or perhaps they are already asleep. The hallway belongs to you and the quiet lamps. You look at the ceiling. It is painted a soft cream color. This makes the hallway feel a bit taller and brighter. There are small brass vents in the ceiling. These are for the air to move around. Even though it is cold outside, the train needs fresh air so it doesn't get too stuffy. The night shift workers know just how much to open these vents. They want the air to be warm, but they also want it to be easy to breathe. It is a delicate balance that they have practiced for many years. You feel the warmth of the steam pipes through the carpet again. It is a very steady heat. It doesn't go up and down. It just stays there, like the warmth of a sun-baked stone. You think about the pipes hidden under the floor. They are made of copper and wrapped in thick cloth to keep the heat from escaping where it shouldn't. The steam travels through these pipes at a high speed, carrying the energy of the fire to every corner of the train. You reach your door again. You pause for a second before going back inside. The hallway feels like a friendly place. It is the spine of the train connecting all the little rooms together. It is a place where the night shift happens, where the workers walk with their tea trays and their oil cans. You feel a connection to the people who work here. They are the guardians of this wooden palace. They make sure the lights stay lit and the carpet stays soft. The walk has made you feel a little more tired, which is a good thing. Your muscles feel loose and relaxed. You have seen the strength of the doors and the beauty of the lamps. You have felt the solid floor under your feet. You know that the train is a safe place to be. The snow can pile up as high as it wants, but it cannot get past the mahogany and the brass. You take one last look down the long golden hall. The light from the furthest lamp is just a tiny dot now. The shadows are long and gentle. You feel like the train is a living thing that is watching over you. It is a very comforting thought. You reach for the brass handle of your door. It is warm from the air in the hallway. You turn it slowly and step back into your room. The quiet walk is over and you are ready for the next part of the night. As you settle back into your room, you hear the soft sound of the door sliding open again. A man in a blue coat stands there. He is the provodnik, the carriage worker you saw earlier. He is a tall, thin man with a kind face and deep lines around his eyes. He has spent many years on this night shift. His uniform is very neat. It is a deep navy blue, and the buttons are made of polished brass that catch the light of your lamp. He wears a special belt with a small pouch for his keys and a silver whistle. He is the person who makes sure everything in this carriage runs perfectly while the world is asleep. He steps into the room quietly. He does not want to disturb your peace. In his hand, he carries a small wooden box and a clean white cloth. He looks at your empty tea glass and gives a small, polite nod. With a quick and gentle movement, he picks up the glass and the silver holder. He is here to help you get ready for the rest of the night. He speaks in a very low, soft voice, telling you that the train will be staying here until the morning light. He tells you not to worry, as the engine has plenty of coal and the water is hot. The worker moves to the corner of the room where a small brass heater is located. He kneels down and uses a small key to open a tiny door at the bottom of the heater. This is part of the micro-history of the carriage. Inside the heater is a small valve that controls the flow of steam. He turns it just a little bit, and you hear a soft hiss click. This will make the room just a tiny bit warmer for the night. He then takes his cloth and wipes a small smudge off the mahogany wall. He treats the train as if it were his own home. He wants every surface to be perfect for you. He then reaches for the upper part of the wall. With a practiced move, he pulls on a hidden brass handle. To your surprise, a part of the wall folds down. This is the upper bed, or berth. It is held by two strong leather straps and a silver chain. He checks the straps to make sure they are tight. He then reaches into a small cupboard above the door and pulls out a fresh pillow and a heavy wool blanket. He lays them out neatly on the blue velvet seat. He moves with such grace that he hardly makes a sound. It is like watching a silent dance. Take a moment to watch him work. His hands are rough from years of manual labor, but he handles the fine lace and soft blankets with great care. He smooths out the pillow until it is perfectly flat. He tucks the edges of the blanket under the cushion so it looks like a neat package. He is a professional. He knows that a well-made bed is the key to a good night's sleep on a train. You feel a sense of trust in him. He is the guardian of your room tonight. He is the one who will stay awake in the hallway while you drift off into dreams. Here is a historical fact about the workers on the Trans-Siberian Railway. The provodniks were very respected men. To get this job, they had to be very honest and hard-working. They lived on the train for weeks at a time, traveling thousands of miles away from their families. They were more than just cleaners. They were also guards and helpers. They had to know how to fix a heater, how to make perfect tea, and how to keep passengers calm during a storm. They were the backbone of the entire railway system. The man in the blue coat finishes with the bed and turns to you. He asks if you would like the lamp dimmed or if you would like another glass of tea. You tell him you are fine for now. He gives another small nod and backs out of the room. As he closes the door, you hear the soft click of the latch. You are alone again, but you feel better knowing he is just outside. You can hear his footsteps move slowly down the hall as he goes to check on the next room. He is a quiet shadow, making sure everyone is safe and warm. You look at the bed he has made for you. The white pillow looks very bright against the dark blue velvet. The blanket is a thick grey wool. It is the kind of blanket that feels heavy on your legs, the kind that makes you feel very secure. It has a small red stripe at the top and bottom. You reach out and touch the wool. It is a bit scratchy, but you know it is incredibly warm. In Russia, wool is life. It is the only thing that can truly stop the Siberian cold from reaching your bones. You think about the life of the worker. While you are resting, he will be sitting at his tiny desk. He will listen to the sounds of the train. He will watch the gauges on the Samovar. He will walk the hallway every hour to make sure the lamps are still burning. He is part of the night shift that never ends. He is like a watchman on a city wall, looking out for the enemy, which in this case is the freezing cold and the mounting snow. He is your friend in the dark. The room feels different now that he has been here. It feels more like a bedroom and less like a sitting room. The folding bed and the heavy blanket have changed the energy of the space. It is time to stop thinking about the journey and start thinking about sleep. You feel a deep sense of calm. The presence of the man in the blue coat has reminded you that you are not alone in this white wilderness. There are people all around you whose only job is to make sure you are okay. You look at the brass buttons on your own coat, hanging on the wall. They reflect the light, just like the workers' buttons did. You feel a connection to him. You are both part of the story of this train. You are the guest, and he is the host. You are the one who rests, and he is the one who watches. It is a very old and very simple relationship. It makes the world feel small and understandable, even when you are in the middle of a giant continent. The worker's presence was a reminder of the human side of the machine. The train is made of iron and steam, but it is run by hearts and hands. The man in the blue coat is the one who puts the coal in the heater and the tea in the glass. He is the one who makes the palace on wheels feel like a home. You feel a wave of gratitude for his quiet service. Because of him, you don't have to worry about the valve on the heater or the level of the oil in the lamp. You can just be. You sit on the edge of the bed he made. The cushions feel solid and supportive. You look at the mahogany walls one more time. They seem to glow with a deeper light now. The shadows in the corners are soft and friendly. The room is a perfect little nest. You take a deep breath and smell the faint scent of the workers' tobacco and the clean smell of the fresh pillowcase. It is a comforting mix of smells. It is the smell of the night shift. Outside, the snow is still falling, but the sounds of the worker in the hallway have made the storm feel even further away. You are tucked in. You are protected. The man in the blue coat is at his post. The lamps are lit. The heaters are hissing. You are ready to let go of the day and embrace the quiet of the night. You feel your eyelids drooping. The rhythm of the train, even when stopped, is a powerful thing. It pulls you towards sleep like a gentle tide. You lean back against the pillow. It is soft and cool against your neck. You pull the heavy wool blanket up over your knees. The weight of it is very relaxing. You feel like you are being tucked into the earth itself. The room is still. The hallway is quiet. The night shift is in good hands. You close your eyes and listen to the faint, distant sound of the workers' footsteps one last time. Thump, 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 thump. It is a heartbeat. It is the sound of safety. You settle back against the pillow and look down at the floor. Even though you are tucked under the heavy grey blanket, you can still feel the heat rising. It is a very special kind of warmth. It does not come from a fire in the corner of the room, and it does not come from the ceiling. It comes from the very ground beneath you. You reach down and touch the edge of the carpet where it meets the mahogany wall. If you slide your fingers just underneath the heavy fabric, you can feel the smooth, round shape of a metal pipe. It is hot to the touch, but not so hot that it burns. This is the heat from the floor pipes, and it is the secret to why this train feels so cozy in the middle of a Siberian winter. These pipes are part of a giant web that runs through the whole train. They are made of copper, a metal that is very good at moving heat from one place to another. The heat starts at the very front of the train, in the big iron boiler of the engine. There, the fire is so hot that it turns water into steam. This steam is under a lot of pressure, which means it wants to move. It travels through a long main pipe that runs under the carriages. From that main pipe, smaller pipes branch off into every single room. It is like the way blood travels through your body to keep your fingers and toes warm. Here is a historical fact about how people stayed warm before these pipes. In the very early days of trains, there was no steam heating. Passengers had to rely on foot warmers. These were long metal boxes filled with hot water or hot sand. A worker would slide them onto the floor of the carriage before the journey started. But the water would always get cold after an hour or two, and the passengers would be freezing for the rest of the night. The invention of steam heating changed everything. It meant that as long as the engine was burning coal, the train would stay as warm as a summer day. The heat from these pipes is a dry heat. It doesn't make the air feel damp or sticky. Instead, it makes the wood of the walls and the velvet of the seats feel warm too. You can feel the warmth soaking into the mahogany, making the wood expand just a little bit. This is why the room sometimes makes a soft creak or pop sound. The train is stretching its wooden bones in the warmth. It is a very natural and comforting sound. It reminds you that the carriage is a living thing, reacting to the heat and the cold. The microhistory of this heating system is found in the way it is controlled. If you look at the floor near the door, there is a small brass wheel. It looks like the wheel on a toy boat. This is the regulator. By turning this wheel, you can decide how much steam comes into your room. If you turn it one way, the valve opens wide and the pipes get very hot. If you turn it the other way, the valve closes and the room cools down. Most people on the night shift heat their wheels turned just halfway. This keeps the air perfect, not too hot for sleeping, but warm enough that you can leave your heavy boots off. Take a moment now to focus on the feeling of your feet. Even through your thick woolen socks, you can feel the steady pulse of the heat. It feels like you are standing on a beach where the sun has been shining on the sand all day. The warmth moves up from your soles, through your ankles and up your legs. It makes your muscles feel very heavy and relaxed. You feel any tightness from the day just melting away. The heat is like a gentle hand pressing against you, telling you that it is okay to rest. The silence of the room makes the feeling of the heat even stronger. You are completely surrounded by warmth. You look at the way the warm air moves in the room. You can't see it, of course, but you can see what it does. The light from your lamp flickers just a tiny bit as the warm air rises past it toward the ceiling. This is called convection. The hot air from the floor pipes rises up, and the cooler air near the window sinks down to be warmed up again. It is a constant, quiet circle of air. It keeps the room from feeling stale. It feels like the room is breathing along with you. You think about the night shift workers who have to look after these pipes. Underneath the train, where the wind is howling and the snow is flying, the main steam pipe is wrapped in thick layers of hair felt and canvas. This is to make sure the heat doesn't escape into the freezing air before it gets to your room. If a pipe leaks, a huge cloud of white steam will shoot out from under the train. The workers have to listen for the sound of a hiss that is louder than it should be. They move under the carriages with their torches, looking for any tiny holes. Their work keeps the lifeblood of the train flowing. The heat makes the smell of the room more intense. The scent of the beeswax on the wood and the faint smell of the tea seem to hang in the warm air. It is a rich, cozy smell. You feel like you are inside a giant wooden treasure chest. The outside world, with its ice and its danger, feels like a dream that you had a long time ago. The only reality is the warm floor and the soft bed. You feel a deep sense of peace. The train is doing its job perfectly. It is a machine that has conquered the winter. You reach out and touch the mahogany wall next to your bed. It feels warm, almost like it has a pulse. You realize that the whole train is vibrating very gently. This is the sound of the steam moving through the pipes. It is a very low, deep hum that you feel more than you hear. It is the rhythm of the night shift. It is a constant reminder that the fire is still burning and the water is still boiling. You are being looked after by the power of the engine. You pull the wool blanket up a little higher. The warmth from the floor has moved up through the cushions of the bed, so even the underside of your body feels toasted and warm. You feel like you are floating in a pool of warm water. Your breathing becomes very slow and very deep. Each breath of the warm air feels like a gift. You think about how lucky you are to be here, in this palace on wheels, while the rest of the world is hidden under the snow. The lamp on the wall is starting to burn a little lower. The oil is being used up, and the flame is getting smaller. The shadows on the floor are growing longer. They dance over the red carpet and the brass rods. You watch the shadows move, and they look like the waves of a quiet sea. You feel your mind starting to drift. The heat is making you very, very sleepy. It's the kind of sleepiness that is heavy and sweet, like honey. You think about the tracks hidden deep under the snow. They are cold and dark, but the train sitting on top of them is full of light and heat. You are part of the small, warm world that is making its way across a giant cold one. The floor pipes are the heart of that world. They are the reason you can sleep without a care. They are the reason the night shift is a time of comfort instead of a time of struggle. The engine fire ahead gives a short, muffled hiss. It is a sound of strength. It tells you that the fire is being fed and the steam is being made. The workers in the engine cab are watching the gauges, making sure the pressure is just right. They are sending the heat back to you, carriage by carriage, pipe by pipe. You feel a connection to those men. They are giving you the gift of warmth, and you are accepting it with a grateful heart. You close your eyes and let the feeling of the floor pipes fill your mind. It is a steady, unwavering heat. It is a promise of safety. You feel completely relaxed, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. The room is quiet, the bed is soft, and the floor is warm. There is nothing else you need. You are ready to let the warmth carry you away into a deep and peaceful sleep. The watch is being kept, and the heat is flowing. All is well in your wooden world. You lean your head back against the soft pillow and look out at the glass one more time. The snow is no longer just falling. It is dancing. Because the train is stuck, the wind has more time to play with the white powder around the metal wheels. You see the white wind move in long curling shapes. It looks like ghosts are running past the window. They don't have faces, just long flowing tails of white ice that swirl and spin in the dark. The wind catches a pile of snow on the ground and lifts it up, turning it into a tall, twisting tower before letting it fall again. It is a beautiful and strange sight to watch from your warm room. The air right outside the glass is moving so fast that it makes a high, thin whistling sound. Whee! Oh! It sounds like a tiny flute being played by someone very far away, but inside, everything is still. The blue curtains move just a tiny bit, not because of a draft, but because of the way the air in the room is circulating. You watch the white shapes outside, and you realize how powerful the weather really is. It can hide the world in just a few hours. It can turn a busy railway into a quiet, frozen forest. The snow moves like a living thing, searching for a way to get inside, but the train is too strong. Here is a historical fact about these Siberian storms. People in Russia have a special name for this kind of wind. They call it a purga. A purga is not just a little bit of snow. It is a giant storm where the wind blows so hard you cannot see your own hand in front of your face. When a purga comes, everything must stop. Even the bravest drivers of the steam trains know that they cannot fight the white wind. They must wait for the storm to get tired and stop blowing before they can move the iron wheels again. The micro-history of this moment is found in the frost on the window. If you look at the very corner of the pane, you can see a tiny forest of ice. This ice is called hoarfrost. It grows when the warm, moist air inside the room touches the freezing cold glass. The frost looks like tiny, delicate fern leaves made of silver. Each little branch has even smaller needles sticking out from it. It is a map of the cold, showing you exactly where the winter is trying to touch you. You could scrape it away with a fingernail, but it is much prettier to leave it there, a piece of nature's art on your mahogany wall. Take a moment to just watch the white shapes move. There is no rhythm to the wind. Sometimes it is fast and angry, throwing handfuls of snow against the glass with a sharp tick-tick. Then it becomes slow and gentle, letting the white flakes float down like feathers from a torn pillow. You feel like you are watching a silent movie. The world out there is all black and white, while your world in here is full of the deep red of the velvet and the golden light of the lamp. You feel a deep sense of relief that you're a spectator and not a part of the storm. You think about the animals that live out there in the white wind. There are Siberian tigers with thick orange fur and white bellies that hide them in the snow. There are grey wolves with paws as big as a man's hand. They are out there right now, curled up in the bushes or under the roots of a fallen tree. They are waiting for the morning, just like you. But they don't have steam pipes or velvet chairs. They only have their own fur and the shelter of the forest. It makes you feel very grateful for the cleverness of the people who built this train. The white wind seems to have a voice. If you listen closely, you can hear it moaning as it passes through the gaps between the carriages. It sounds like a long, low "oh." It is a lonely sound. It reminds you of how big the world is. Russia is a giant land, and the train is just a tiny line of light moving through it. You feel very small, but you also feel very protected. You are like a pearl inside a very strong wooden shell. The mahogany and the iron are your armor against the ghosts of the wind. The lamp on your wall flickers again, and for a second, the reflection on the glass makes it look like there is a small fire burning out in the middle of the snow. It is just a trick of the light, but it is a nice thought. It makes the white void look a little less empty. You watch the snow pile up higher against the glass. It is already halfway up the window. Soon, you won't be able to see out at all. The train will be completely buried in a soft white cocoon. This is actually a good thing. Snow is a very good insulator. It will act like an extra blanket, keeping the warmth of the train inside. You feel the vibration of the engine again. It is a steady, low-frequency pulse. It tells you that the night shift workers are still at their posts, making sure the fire stays alive. They are the guardians of the light. While the white wind tries to blow everything out, they are keeping the flames burning bright. You think about the coal being tossed into the furnace. Each shovel of coal is a blow against the cold. Each puff of steam is a victory over the winter. The movement of the snow outside starts to make your eyes feel very heavy. It is like watching waves on the ocean. The constant swirling motion is very hypnotic. You find yourself following one tiny flake as it spins around and around in the wind before it finally lands on the glass and melts away. Your thoughts start to move in the same way, swirling and drifting, without any real direction. You are no longer thinking about the time or the place. You are just part of the quiet night. The white world is so pure. It hides everything. It hides the tracks, the trees, and the rocks. It makes everything look smooth and soft. You imagine stepping out into that world. You would sink up to your waist in the cold white powder. You would hear nothing but the whistle of the wind in your ears. It would be a very quiet and very cold experience. You pull the wool blanket tighter around your shoulders. The scratchy feeling of the wool is a good reminder of where you are. You are in the world of humans, the world of heat and cloth. The wind gives one last loud howl and then seems to go quiet for a bit. The ghosts stop running past the window, and for a moment the snow falls straight down. In this brief silence, you can hear the clock in the hallway again. Tick, tick, tick. It is a very solid sound. It is the sound of the world we have built. The wind and the snow are the world as it was before us. The clock and the train are the world we have made. You are happy to be in the world of the clock. You look at the frost on the window again. It has grown a little bit more while you were watching the wind. A new tree of ice has sprouted near the top of the pane. It is a reminder that the cold is always there, waiting at the door, but it cannot come in. The double glass and the mahogany are too strong. You feel a sense of triumph. You are warm, and you are going to stay warm all night long. The white wind can move all at once, but it cannot move you. You close your eyes and let the image of the curling white snow stay in your mind. It becomes a soft, blurry shape that slowly fades into darkness. You feel your breathing get deeper. You are safe. You are tucked in. The night shift is watching the wind for you. The engine is breathing for you. The pipes are warming for you. You can let go now. You can let the white wind carry your thoughts away into a peaceful sleep. You reach out a hand toward the small lamp fixed to the mahogany wall beside your bed. It is a beautiful object, made of solid brass that has been polished until it looks like gold. The base is shaped like a small, sturdy leaf, and it holds a clear glass bowl filled with golden oil. This is the lamp that has been your companion through the evening, and now, as the night grows deeper, you decide to turn it down. You touch the small brass wheel at the side. It is cool to the touch and turns with a soft, oily click. As you turn the wheel, the little piece of woven string that holds the fire slides down into the metal tube. The flame shrinks. It goes from a bright, busy yellow to a soft, sleepy orange. The room changes instantly. The deep shadows in the corners stretch out, reaching toward the center of the cabin. The dark red of the velvet seats becomes a deep, shadowy purple. The mahogany walls, which were bright and shiny before, now look like a dark, calm pool of water. The tiny gold lamp flame is now the only light in your world. It is a small, warm heart beating in the center of the room. It makes the space feel even smaller and more private. You feel like you are inside a tiny, glowing jewel box. The orange light makes everything look soft and old, as if you have stepped back into a time where everything moved much more slowly. Here is a historical fact about the lighting on these trains. Before oil lamps like this one were used, trains often had to use candles. Can you imagine that? A single candle in a glass jar, flickering as the train rattled along the tracks. It was very dim and could be quite dangerous. The move to oil lamps was a big step forward. These lamps used a special kind of oil that did not smell bad and burned very steadily. They were much safer and brighter, allowing passengers to read their books or write letters late into the Siberian night. The microhistory of this lamp is found in the glass chimney. This is the clear tube that surrounds the flame. If you look closely at the top of the glass, you can see a tiny bit of grey soot. This shows that the lamp has been working hard all evening to keep you company. The glass is very thin, but very strong. It is made to handle the heat of the fire on the inside and the cool air of the room on the outside without cracking. The night shift worker, the man in the blue coat, spends part of his day cleaning these glass tubes with a soft cloth and a bit of vinegar to make sure they stay perfectly clear for the next night. Take a moment now to just look at the tiny flame. It is perfectly still because the windows are sealed tight and the door is shut. There is no wind to make the fire dance. It sits there, a small point of light, reflected in the dark wood and the brass handles of the room. You can hear very faint sound from the lamp, a tiny rhythmic ticking as the oil moves up the wick. It is a very peaceful sound. It is the sound of the light doing its job. You feel your eyes starting to follow the slow rhythm of the tiny flame. It is very easy to forget about the world outside when you have such a friendly light to watch. The orange glow of the lamp is very kind to your eyes. It doesn't shout at you like the bright sun or a modern light bulb might. It is a soft, warm light that makes you want to close your eyes. You look at the shadow of your hand on the velvet seat. It is a large, soft-edged shadow that moves only when you move. The light makes the texture of everything stand out. You can see the tiny individual threads of the crimson velvet and the fine grain of the mahogany. It is a beautiful way to see the world. It makes you appreciate the small things, the curve of a brass handle, the neat stitches in the lace cloth, the way the light catches a drop of water on the window. You think about the night shift workers and the lights they use. Up in the engine, the driver and the fireman have much bigger lamps. They have huge lanterns with silver mirrors behind the flames to make the light even stronger. They need to see the white wall of snow ahead of them. But here in the back of the train, the lights are for comfort. They're for making a home in the middle of a journey. You feel a sense of luxury. You are being given the gift of light in a place where the sun has been gone for hours. It is a small victory over the dark. The lamp smells very faintly of sweet oil and warm brass. It has a dry, clean scent that mixes with the smell of the steam and the wood. You find it very relaxing. It is the smell of a quiet evening. You lean your head back on the pillow and watch the shadows on the ceiling. They look like the branches of trees moving slowly in a gentle wind. You feel like you are lying in a forest of light and shadow. The room is very quiet, and the orange glow makes the silence feel even deeper. You feel completely safe. You realize that this little lamp is a sign of human cleverness. We found a way to take oil from the ground and fire from a match and turn it into a tiny sun that we can carry with us. This little sun is keeping the Siberian night at bay. It is showing the darkness that it is not welcome inside this carriage. You feel a sense of pride in being a human. We are small and we get cold easily, but we are very good at making things like this lamp to take care of ourselves. The flame gives a tiny soft pop and settles down even more. It is almost as if the lamp is getting sleepy, too. The light is just enough for you to see the outline of the furniture and the white of the pillow. It is the perfect level of light for dreaming. You don't need to see everything clearly anymore. You know where the walls are. You know where the door is. You know the night shift worker is just outside in the hallway. You can let the details of the room fade away into the soft orange mist. You think about the oil inside the glass bowl. It was likely brought here from a place called Baku, near the Caspian Sea. It traveled thousands of miles across the mountains and the plains to reach this train. It is another small miracle. Everything on the Trans-Siberian Railway comes from a different part of the world, all meeting here in your room to keep you warm and bright. The lamp is a small part of a giant machine that is always working to look after you. You reach out and turn the brass wheel just a tiny bit more. The flame is now just a tiny gold dot, no bigger than a grain of rice. The room is almost dark now, but not quite. The orange light is still there, a soft memory on the walls. It is a very cozy kind of dark. It is not the scary dark of the forest, but the warm dark of a bedroom. You feel your body relaxing into the cushions. The weight of the wool blanket feels heavier and better in the dim light. Your breathing is slow and steady. The lamp is like a quiet friend, sitting there on the wall and watching over you. It doesn't ask for anything. It just gives its light and its warmth. You feel a deep connection to the people of the past who sat by lamps just like this one. They watched the same orange glow and felt the same sense of peace. You are sharing a moment with history. You are part of the long line of people who have found comfort in a small flame during a long, cold night. Outside, the white wind is still moving, but in here, the tiny gold lamp is the master of the room. It has created a space where you can be still and quiet. You watch the last little flicker of the light on the brass handle of the door. It looks like a tiny star. You close your eyes, but you can still see the orange glow in your mind. It is a warm, happy image to hold onto as you start to drift away. You are safe. You are warm. The light is watching. You hear a soft tap at the door, and the man in the blue coat enters once more. He is carrying a small silver tray. On the tray is a bowl of hot soup and a thick slice of warm bread. He sets the tray down on the small table by the window. The smell hits you immediately. It is the scent of onions, potatoes, and rich meat. In Russia, this soup is often called Shchi. It is a simple cabbage soup that has been eaten by travelers for hundreds of years. Tonight, because you are in first class, it has been made with the very best beef and fresh herbs from the train's kitchen car. The bowl is made of thick white porcelain. It is heavy and holds the heat well. You pick up the silver spoon and dip it into the soup. A small cloud of steam rises up, warming your face. The soup is a deep golden color. You can see bits of green parsley and soft pieces of carrot floating in the broth. The first taste is wonderful. It is salty, warm, and very filling. It feels like the soup is spreading a new layer of warmth inside your body, starting in your stomach and moving out to your fingers and toes. It is the kind of food that makes you feel strong and ready for the long night. Beside the bowl is the bread. This is not like the soft white bread you might find in a city shop. This is a slice of black rye bread. It is dark, almost the color of chocolate, and very dense. It has a thick, crunchy crust that smells of grain and earth. You pick up the slice. It is still warm from the oven. In the kitchen car, the bakers have been working their night shift over a big wood-fired stove to make sure there is fresh bread for everyone. You tear off a piece and dip it into the soup. The bread soaks up the broth, becoming soft and even more delicious. Here is a historical fact about food on the Trans-Siberian Railway. The kitchen cars were like tiny, high-quality restaurants. They had to store enough food to last for weeks. They had big ice boxes to keep meat fresh, and bags of flour stacked to the ceiling. Because the journey was so long, the cooks became very good at making many different meals from just a few simple ingredients. A hot bowl of soup was considered the most important meal of the day because it helped the body fight the freezing Siberian air. The micro-history of your meal is found in the small pot of white cream on the tray. This is smetana, a type of thick, sour cream. In Russia, people put a dollop of this cream into almost every bowl of soup. You take a small spoonful and drop it into the center of the golden broth. You watch as the white cream slowly melts and swirls, turning the soup into a creamy, pale orange color. It adds a rich, tangy taste that makes the meal feel very special. It is a small detail, but it shows the care that goes into looking after the passengers. Take a moment to enjoy the feeling of being full. You lean back, holding a small piece of the dark bread in your hand. The room is quiet, save for the soft clink of your spoon against the porcelain. You feel a deep sense of satisfaction. When you are cold and tired, a simple meal like this is better than any feast. You feel the weight of the food in your belly, making you feel grounded and calm. Your breathing slows down even more. The warmth of the soup and the warmth of the steam pipes are working together now, making you feel as if you are wrapped in a thick, invisible cocoon of heat. You look at the empty bowl. The worker will come back later to take the tray away, but for now, it sits there, a reminder of the kindness of the night shift. You think about the cooks in the kitchen car. They are working in a room full of fire and steam, even while the train is stuck in the snow. They are peeling potatoes and kneading dough by the light of oil lamps. Their work is what makes this luxury possible. You feel a connection to them, even though you might never see their faces. They have fed you, and that is a very kind thing. The dark rye bread has a slightly sour taste that lingers on your tongue. It is a very old taste, one that has been part of life here for 1,000 years. It tastes of the sun and the soil. Even in the middle of a frozen wasteland, the bread reminds you that the earth is still there, waiting under the snow. It reminds you that spring will eventually return, but for now, you are happy with the winter and the warm room. The meal has finished the job that the tea started. You are no longer just warm, you are truly comfortable. You take a last sip of the broth from the bottom of the bowl. It is the thickest and most flavorful part. You set the spoon down. The silver makes a tiny ting sound. You feel very heavy now, in a good way. It is the heaviness of a person who has been well fed and well cared for. You look at the mahogany walls and the blue velvet, and they seem even more beautiful now that you are not hungry. Everything in the world seems right. The night shift worker passes by the door. You hear the soft swish of his coat against the wood. He is probably checking the samovar again, or bringing soup to another room. The train is a busy place, even when it is standing still. There is a whole world of people working to make sure your world is perfect. You feel a wave of peace wash over you. You are part of a great machine that knows how to take care of its own. You look at the small bit of crust left on the tray. It is a deep, honest brown. You think about how simple life can be when the world outside is so complicated. Out there is the wind, the snow, and the dark. In here is the soup, the bread, and the lamp. You don't need anything else. You have the essentials of life, and they have been given to you with style and grace. You feel a sense of wealth that has nothing to do with money. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the meal settle. You can almost feel your body getting stronger. The vitamins from the vegetables and the energy from the bread are moving through you. You are ready to face the long night, even if the train stays stuck until noon. You are not worried about the time. You are not worried about the snow. You are only aware of the quiet and the heat. The lamp on the wall is still burning with its soft orange glow. It lights up the white porcelain of the bowl, making it shine. The room is a place of peace and plenty. You feel a deep gratitude for the night shift and the simple, honest food they have provided. You are tucked away, you are warm, and you are full. The world of the Siberian winter can stay outside. You are home in your wooden room. You turn your attention to the bed that the worker prepared for you. It is time to truly settle in. On top of the soft blue cushions, there are several layers of heavy wool blankets. You reach out and run your hand over the top one. It is a deep, slate grey colour, with a texture that feels thick and honest. This is not a thin, light blanket, like you might find in a summer house. This is a Siberian blanket. It is made from the thickest wool of sheep that live in the cold mountains. The wool is woven so tightly that you can hardly see the threads. It feels heavy, like a shield made of cloth. When you lift the corner of the blanket, you can feel its weight. It is comforting to have something so solid to cover you. In a place where the air can turn to ice, weight means warmth. The blanket is designed to trap the heat from your body and the heat from the steam pipes and hold it right against your skin. It is like a soft wall that the cold cannot climb over. You slide your legs under the first layer, then the second. The blankets are a little bit scratchy against your hands, but through your clothes, they just feel like a warm, heavy press. Here is a historical fact about these blankets. In the old days of the Russian Empire, wool was one of the most important things a person could own. A good wool blanket was often passed down from a father to a son. They were made to last for 50 years or more. On the train, the blankets are cleaned and brushed by the night shift workers, using large wooden combs. This keeps the wool fluffy. Fluffy wool is better at holding air, and trapped air is what keeps you warm. The microhistory of your bed is found in the sheets underneath the wool. While the blankets are rough and tough, the sheets are made of fine white linen. Linen is a fabric made from the flax plant. It is very smooth and feels cool at first, but it quickly warms up to match your body heat. These sheets have been starched and pressed by the train's laundry workers until they are as crisp as a fresh sheet of paper. They smell faintly of lavender and clean river water. The contrast between the crisp, smooth linen and the heavy, rough wool is the perfect feeling for sleep. Take a moment to feel the weight of the blankets on your chest. As you lie back, the weight of the wool makes you feel very still. It is hard to move quickly under so many layers, and that is a good thing. It forces your body to relax. You can feel your heart beating a little more slowly as the hug of the blankets tells your brain that you are safe. The room is quiet, and the heavy cloth even helps to muffle the sound of your own breathing. You feel like you are being tucked into the very heart of the train. The outside world of wind and ice is miles away from this warm, heavy nest. You look at the pillow under your head. It is stuffed with the softest feathers from northern geese. These feathers, called down, are what keep birds warm when they swim in freezing lakes. There are thousands of tiny, fluffy feathers inside your pillowcase, each one holding a little bit of heat. When you rest your head, the pillow sinks down, shaping itself around your neck and ears. It blocks out the last of the hallway sounds. You feel like you are floating on a cloud. You think about the night shift workers who move the heavy bundles of laundry. Every time the train stops at a big station, hundreds of these blankets and sheets are taken off to be cleaned, and fresh ones are brought on. It is a giant job. There are men whose whole life is spent making sure that every bed on the Trans-Siberian Railway is as perfect as yours is tonight. They work in big, steamy buildings near the tracks, washing and drying the wool so it stays soft and warm for the next traveller. The blankets have a faint, dry smell. It is the smell of the sheep and the mountain air. is a very natural smell that makes you think of the earth. You feel a sense of connection to the animals that gave their wool so you could be warm. You are part of a cycle of life that keeps the winter at bay. The wool, the linen, and the feathers are all gifts from the world, brought together in this small mahogany room to keep you snug while the snow piles up outside. You reach out and pull the top blanket all the way up to your chin. The wool is thick enough that you can't feel the slight movement of the air in the room anymore. You are in your own climate now. The temperature under the blankets is exactly right. You feel a wave of sleepiness that is so strong it feels like a physical force. Your limbs feel like they're made of lead. You couldn't lift your arm even if you wanted to. You are pinned down by the wonderful weight of the wool. You look at the blue velvet seat where the blankets are tucked in. The dark red and the deep blue look very rich in the dim light of the lamp. The room looks like a painting of a cozy corner. You think about how many people have slept under these very blankets. They have carried their own dreams and worries across the frozen plains. But tonight there are no worries. There is only the feeling of the heavy wool and the soft linen. The engine far ahead makes a soft, rhythmic sound. Chuff! 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 It sounds like the train is snoring. It is a very sleepy sound. You find yourself matching your breathing to the rhythm of the engine. Deep breath in, long breath out. Each breath feels easier than the last. The warmth from the floor pipes is still there, rising up through the cushions and the blankets, adding one more layer of heat to your bed. You are surrounded by warmth from above and below. You think about the night shift guard walking past your door. He knows you are in here, tucked under your grey blankets. He knows the room is warm and the bed is soft. His job is to make sure that nothing changes. He is the guardian of your rest. You feel a deep sense of peace knowing that someone is watching the world while you let go of it. You don't have to be brave or strong tonight. You just have to be still. The wool blanket has a small red stripe near the edge. You watch the stripe in the fading light of the lamp. It looks like a little path leading off into sleep. You follow the path with your eyes until they start to close on their own. The texture of the wool is the last thing you are aware of. The solid, honest feel of the fabric against your skin. It is the feeling of survival. It is the feeling of being home in the middle of a journey. You are as snug as a person can be. The Siberian winter can blow its coldest wind and drop its heaviest snow, but it cannot touch you. You are wrapped in the best wool the world can give. You are protected by the history of the night shift. You are safe. You are warm. You are ready to dream. You lie very still, buried under the heavy wool blankets, and listen. Even though the train is not moving, it is not dead. The steam engine at the front of the train is like a big animal that is resting but still breathing. You can hear it through the walls and the floor. It is a deep, low sound that never stops. Hum, hiss, hooum. This is the sound of the boiler. The boiler is a giant iron tank filled with water. Inside, the fire is always burning, turning that water into powerful steam. The engine breathes out the extra steam through small pipes, and it sounds like a giant sighing in his sleep. The engine is the reason you are safe. It is the heart of the whole train. If the engine stopped breathing, the lights would go out and the heat would fade away. But the night shift workers are up there in the dark. You can every gap in your clothes. The feel of like a man opening the heavy iron door of the furnace. When he does, a bright orange light fills the cab of the engine, reflecting off the snow outside. He tosses in more coal, and the fire roars with new life. The engine takes a deep breath of air and turns it into the heat that is currently warming your toes. It is a very comforting thought. Here is a historical fact about these big steam engines. They were much larger than the ones used in Europe. Because the Trans-Siberian Railway is so long and the weather is so cold, the Russians built engines that were extra heavy and strong. They had to be able to push through snow that was taller than a man. These engines were often decorated with bright red wheels and shiny brass stars. They were the pride of the country. Even when they were stuck, they looked like sleeping giants, ready to wake up and pull the world behind them. The micro-history of the engine is found in the oil can. The driver of the train has a special tool called a long neck oil can. It is made of copper and has a very long, thin spout. While the train is sitting in the snow, the driver might step out onto the iron plate of the engine to put a few drops of oil into the moving parts. This oil smells sharp and metallic. It keeps the iron from sticking together in the cold. Even in the middle of a storm, the driver makes sure the engine is greased and ready to go. It is a small but vital job that keeps the giant alive. Take a moment now to feel the vibration of the engine. It is a very low frequency, which means it is a deep sound that you feel in your bones more than you hear with your ears. It travels from the iron engine through the heavy couplings that hold the cars together and into the wooden frame of your room. It is a steady pulse. Thump, thump, thump. It feels like the train is telling you that everything is okay. As long as you can feel that tiny shake in the wall, you know the fire is burning. It is a mechanical lullaby that has helped thousands of people sleep on their way across the world. The engine's breath is what makes the steam pipes hiss under your floor. You can hear the steam moving through the valves near the wheels. Tis, tis, tis. It sounds like a secret conversation. The engine is talking to the carriages, sending them the gift of warmth. You think about the steam itself. It is just water and heat, but together they are strong enough to move a mountain of iron. It is a beautiful and simple power. It is the power of the night shift. Outside, the steam from the engine is hitting the freezing air and turning into a thick, white fog. This fog wraps around the front of the train like a warm scarf. It hides the big black nose of the engine and the silver tracks. If you were standing outside, you would be surrounded by this warm, wet mist. But here, behind the glass, you only see the soft white glow of it. It makes the white world look even softer and more mysterious. You think about the sounds the engine makes when it is working hard. The loud chuff, chuff, and the screaming whistle. But tonight, the engine is being quiet for you. It has lowered its voice to a whisper. It is being a good guardian. You feel a sense of respect for the machine. It is not just a pile of metal. It is a friend that is carrying you through a dangerous place. It is a place of fire in a land of ice. The vibration is so steady that you start to forget it is there, but your body still feels it. It makes your muscles feel even more relaxed. It is like being in a cradle that is being rocked by a very gentle hand. You feel your head sinking deeper into the feather pillow. The sound of the engine's breath is getting further and further away, as if the giant is walking quietly into the distance. You're left with just the warmth and the stillness. The night shift worker in the hallway hears the engine too. To him, the sound of the steam is a signal. It tells him that he can make more tea at the Samovar. It tells him that the heaters in the rooms are working. He knows the language of the engine better than anyone. He can tell by the sound of the hiss if the fire needs more coal or if the water is getting low. He is the translator between the machine and the passengers. You look at the mahogany ceiling. The soft orange light from the lamp is still there, casting long, lazy shadows. The vibration of the engine makes the shadows dance just a tiny bit. It is a very peaceful movement. You feel like the whole room is part of a giant, slow-moving dream. The engine, the steam, the wood, and the velvet are all singing the same quiet song. The fire in the engine cab is probably glowing a deep, beautiful red right now. The fireman is likely sitting on a small wooden stool, resting his shovel for a moment. He is looking out at the snow, watching the same white wind that you saw earlier. He is part of the night shift team that is keeping you safe. You feel a wave of gratitude for his hard work. Because of him, the engine can keep breathing through the night. You close your eyes and let the hum of the boiler fill your mind. It is a very solid and honest sound. It doesn't change. It doesn't go away. It is a constant presence that makes the dark night feel less lonely. You feel like you are being held in the palm of a giant hand. The hand is warm and strong, and it will not let you go. You are safe in the heart of the steam. The engine gives one more long, soft sigh of steam. It sounds like it is finally falling into a deep sleep, just like you. The vibration becomes even softer, until it's just a tiny tickle in your pillow. You are perfectly comfortable. You are perfectly warm. The giant is watching over you, and the night shift is in control. You can close your eyes now and let the engine's breath carry you away. As you lie there, feeling the gentle vibration of the engine, your mind begins to wander to the world beneath the train. You think of the iron tracks. These are two long, thin lines of steel that stretch across the entire continent. Even though they are hidden under several feet of white snow tonight, you know they are there. They are the only reason you are here in this warm room. Without these tracks, there would be no way to cross the frozen marshes, the deep forests, and the wide rivers of Russia. They are like a silver thread that sews the East and the West together. Building these tracks was a task that most people thought was impossible. It was a giant project that started more than 30 years ago. Thousands of men had to work in the freezing cold and the summer heat. They had to dig through solid rock and move millions of tons of earth. They used simple tools like shovels, pickaxes, and wheelbarrows. There were no big machines to help them back then. It was just the strength of human arms and the power of the will. You think about those men, the night shift of the past, who worked by the light of smoky fires to lay down the iron. Here is a historical fact about these tracks. The Russian railway is different from the railways in England or America. The space between the two rails is wider in Russia. This is called a broad gauge. The Russians chose this because it made the trains more stable on the soft, uneven ground of the plains. It also meant they could build much wider and more comfortable carriages, like the one you are sleeping in right now. Because the tracks are wide, the train feels more like a building and less like a wagon. The micro-history of the tracks is found in a small but important piece of metal called a fish plate. A fish plate is a flat piece of iron that is bolted to the sides of two rails where they meet. It holds the rails together so they stay in a straight line. If you look at the tracks during the day, you see these plates every few yards. They are held on by heavy square bolts. These bolts have to be checked all the time. There is a special worker called a track walker, whose job is to walk along the line with a heavy hammer. He hits every bolt to make sure it is tight. If it makes a ringing sound, it is good. If it makes a dull thud, he knows it needs fixing. Take a moment to imagine those tracks stretching out into the dark. In your mind's eye, see the two silver lines vanishing into the white void. They go on for miles and miles, past tiny villages where everyone is asleep and through forests where no one lives at all. Even though they look cold and lonely, they are a sign of connection. They tell you that you are not lost. You are on a path that leads to a destination. You are part of a giant map. The stillness of the train makes you feel the weight of all that history. Those rails have carried millions of people, and tonight they are holding you up. You feel a deep sense of respect for the iron. It is a tough metal that can stand the freezing ice of the winter and the burning sun of the summer. It doesn't complain, it just stays there, solid and true. The weight of the train is huge, but the tracks don't bend. They are supported by wooden beams called sleepers. These are thick logs of pine or oak that are buried in the gravel under the rails. They act like a bed for the iron to rest on. They soak up the vibrations of the engine and keep the ride smooth. Thinking about the solid iron tracks makes you feel even more secure in your bed. You know the train is not going to slip or move. It is locked onto the rails. You are part of a very stable system. The snow can pile up and the wind can blow, but the iron is stronger than the storm. You feel like the train is a safe boat anchored to a solid dock. The dock is the railway line, and it will be there waiting for you when the sun comes up. The night shift workers who look after the tracks are some of the toughest people in the world. Even on a night like this, there might be a team of men in a small hut nearby. They are called Gandhi dancers, or track layers. If a rail snaps because of the extreme cold, they have to go out into the purga to fix it. They carry heavy lanterns and big iron bars. They work in the dark to make sure that the path is clear for the morning. You feel a wave of gratitude for their strength. You are warm because they are willing to be cold. The vibration of the engine travels down through the wheels and hits the rails. It makes a very soft, ringing sound that travels through the iron for a long way. If you were to put your ear against the track miles away, you would hear the train breathing. It is like the whole country is connected by this one long metal heart. You are part of that pulse. You are part of the iron song of the railway. It is a very ancient and powerful feeling. You look at the dark wood of your room and think about how the iron and the wood work together. The wood gives you beauty and warmth, while the iron gives you strength and a path. It is a perfect partnership. The night shift workers understand this. They know how to care for the mahogany and how to care for the steel. They are the masters of both worlds. You feel like you are in the best possible place to be. The silence of the room returns, but now it feels even deeper because you are thinking about the miles of empty tracks outside. You imagine the snow covering the silver lines, hiding them from view, but you know they are still there. Just because you can't see the path doesn't mean it is gone. This is a very comforting thought. It reminds you that even when life feels a bit lost or stuck, there is usually a solid foundation beneath you. You just have to trust the iron. You pull the wool blanket a little closer to your chin. The texture of the fabric reminds you of the rough hands of the men who laid the tracks. You feel a sense of pride in what humans can do when they work together. We can build a road through a wilderness that doesn't want us there. We can make a palace on wheels that stays warm in a freezer. We are very clever and very brave. You feel like you are sharing in that bravery just by being here. The engine gives a tiny clink as a piece of metal expands. It sounds like a bell ringing softly in the distance. It is a reminder that the machine is alive and well. The night shift is moving forward 1 minute at a time. The tracks are holding firm. The train is waiting. You are resting. Everything is in its proper place. You feel a sense of total harmony. You close your eyes and let the image of the silver tracks fade into a soft grey mist. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the soft bed. The heaviness of the iron and the softness of the wool are the last things you think about. You are on the right path. You are safe. The tracks are leading you toward the morning. You can let the world go now and just dream. As you lie in the soft darkness of your cabin, a familiar scent begins to drift through the small gaps in the door. It is the smell of coal smoke. To someone in a city, this might just be the smell of industry, but here on the Trans-Siberian Express, it is the smell of life. It is a dry, heavy, and earthy scent. It smells like old stones, deep earth, and a crackling winter fire, all mixed into one. It is a comforting smell because it tells you that the big furnace at the front of the train is still roaring. As long as you can smell that faint, smoky tang in the air, you know that the night shift is doing its job. The smoke comes from the coal being burned to heat the water in the engine's boiler. When the fireman opens the furnace door to toss in a new shovel of fuel, a little bit of that smoke escapes into the cab and is carried back by the wind. It finds its way along the side of the carriages, creeping past the window frames and under the doors. It is not a thick or choking smoke. It is just a thin, ghostly perfume of the railway. It reminds you of the old hearths in country houses, where a fire is always kept burning to keep the shadows away. Here is a historical fact about the coal used on this journey. Most of the coal for the Trans-Siberian Railway came from huge mines in a place called the Kuznetsik Basin. This coal was famous for being very hard and burning for a long time with a very hot flame. Because the journey was so long, the train had to carry tons and tons of this black rock in a special car called a tender, which sat right behind the engine. Without this specific type of coal, the train could never have made it across the thousands of miles of frozen wilderness. The micro-history of this smell is found in the fireman's shovel. This is not a regular garden shovel. It is a heavy tool made of thick steel with a wide, flat blade. The handle is made of smooth ash wood that has been worn down by the fireman's gloves until it is as soft as silk. Every few minutes all through the night, the fireman uses this shovel to move the coal. You can almost hear the sound of the steel blade scraping against the floor of the tender, a sharp shriek crunch as he gathers another load of the black diamonds to feed the fire. Take a moment to just breathe in that scent. It is a very honest smell. It doesn't hide behind flowers or perfumes. It tells the story of hard work and heat. You find that it makes the room feel even cozier. The scent of the smoke contrasts with the clean, sweet smell of the beeswax on the mahogany walls and the fresh linen on your bed. It adds a layer of outdoors to your indoor world. It reminds you that while you are wrapped in velvet and wool, there is a powerful, fiery world just a few cars ahead. It makes you feel very safe, like sitting in a sturdy house while a storm blows through the chimney. You think about the smoke rising from the tall funnel of the engine. In the dark, you cannot see the black soot, but you can imagine it curling up into the grey sky, disappearing into the falling snow. The smoke carries the heat away, but not before the water has taken what it needs to make the steam. It is a beautiful cycle. The coal gives its energy to the fire gives its heat to the water, and the water gives its power to the pipes under your feet. The smoke is just the final sigh of that process. The smell of the smoke also brings back memories of other winter nights. It reminds you of wood-burning stoves and small cabins, and the smell of a village at dusk when everyone has lit their fires for dinner. It is a very ancient smell. Humans have been sitting around fires for thousands of years to stay safe from the cold. On this train, the fire has been put inside a big iron box, but it is still the same fire. It is still the thing that keeps the darkness at bay. You feel a deep, primitive sense of peace. The night shift worker in the hallway probably doesn't even notice the smell anymore. To him, it is just the air of his office. But for you, it is a reminder of the journey. Even though you are stuck in a snowdrift, the smell of coal smoke means you are still a traveler. You are still part of the Great Siberian Way. The train is waiting, breathing, and smelling of the earth. It is a very solid and real experience. There is nothing fake about this warmth. It is bought with the sweat of the fireman and the heat of the coal. You feel the weight of the wool blankets again. The smoky scent seems to make the wool feel even thicker. You imagine the sheep on the hills, the coal in the deep mines, and the water in the mountain streams. All these things have come together tonight to make your sleep possible. The world is a very interconnected place. You feel a sense of harmony with the nature outside and the machine inside. Everything is working in balance. The lamp on the wall gives off its own tiny scent of oil, which blends with the coal smoke. It is a rich, heavy mix of smells that makes the air feel thick in a comfortable way. It is the kind of air that is easy to sleep in. It feels like the air is wrapping itself around you, tucking you in. You take a slow, deep breath, and you can almost taste the minerals of the coal. It is a strong, grounding taste. It reminds you that you are safe on the ground, held up by the iron and the tracks. Outside, the white wind is still dancing, but the smell of the smoke doesn't care about the wind. It moves where it wants, carrying the message of the fire. You watch the frost on the window again. The tiny ice ferns seem to glow a little bit in the dim orange light. You are in a world of beautiful contrasts. The white snow and the black coal, the freezing ice and the hot steam, the dark night and the golden lamp. It is a very rich way to live. You feel your mind starting to slow down even more. The scent of the smoke is very hypnotic. It is like the smell of a dream. You find yourself thinking about the deep forests of Siberia again, where the coal was once wood millions of years ago. The cycle of time is all around you. You are resting in the middle of a giant history book. The night shift is just one more chapter in the long story of the earth and the fire. The engine gives a very soft, distant hiss. The smell of the smoke gets a tiny bit stronger for a second, and then fades back to a whisper. It is the engine's way of saying goodnight. You feel a wave of warmth wash over you, from your chest down to your toes. You are perfectly relaxed. The smell of the coal fire is the last thing you notice before you close your eyes. It is a scent of safety. It is a scent of home. You are tucked in. The fire is burning. The night shift is awake. You can let the smoke carry your thoughts away into the quiet, dark forest of sleep. Everything is well. The train is breathing for you. You reach out from under the heavy wool blankets and pick up the book resting on the small mahogany table. The cover is made of soft, worn leather that feels like velvet against your fingertips. It is an old book. Its pages are deep cream color, smelling of dry paper and the faint scent of vanilla that old books often have. In the soft orange glow with the oil lamp, the words on the page look like tiny rows of black ants marching across a field of gold. You prop your pillow up against the wall and settle in to read for a little while before sleep finally takes hold. As you turn the first page, the paper makes a very specific sound. It is a soft, dry crinkle rustle. In the absolute silence of the stuck train, this tiny sound seems very loud. It is a peaceful sound, one that tells your brain it is time to slow down. You feel the texture of the paper. It is thick and a little bit rough, made from cotton rags a long time ago. As you read, you move your thumb along the edge of the page. You can feel the small bumps where the ink was pressed into the paper by a heavy metal printing press. This is a book made by hand, just like the train was made by hand. Here is a historical fact about reading on the Trans-Siberian Railway. Because the journey took so long, sometimes more than 2 weeks from one end to the other, the train had its own library. There was a special carriage filled with thousands of books in many different languages. A passenger could go there and borrow a book to take back to their room. For many people, reading was the only way to keep their minds busy while the endless forest of birch trees passed by the window. A good story was as important as a hot meal or a warm bed. The micro-history of your reading tonight is found in the bookmark you are using. It is a thin ribbon made of blue silk, sewn into the binding of the book. At the end of the ribbon is a tiny silver weight shaped like a leaf. This weight keeps the ribbon from sliding out if the train sways. As you turn the pages, the silk ribbon feels cool and smooth against your skin. It is a small piece of luxury that makes the act of reading feel like a special event. You move the ribbon to the next chapter, the silver leaf making a tiny clink against the wood of the table. Take a moment to listen to the silence between the words. You read a sentence, then stop. You look at the dark mahogany wall and let the ideas from the book settle in your mind. The room is so quiet that you can hear the very faint sound of the oil lamp burning, a tiny rhythmic hiss as the flame eats the oil. The world of the book and the world of the train start to blend together. You feel like you are part of a long history of people who have used stories to find comfort in the dark. The night shift is happening all around you, but in your room, time has stopped. You are just a person and a story, safe in a wooden box. The words on the page tell of summer gardens and warm rain. It is a strange thing to read about green leaves while you are surrounded by a white wall of snow, but it makes the room feel even warmer. You can almost smell the flowers from the book, mixing with the scent of the coal smoke from the engine. Reading is a type of magic. It allows you to be in two places at once. You are here in Siberia, but you are also in the sunny world of the story. You feel a deep sense of relaxation as your imagination takes flight. You notice that your eyes are moving more slowly now. You read the same sentence twice. The night shift worker in the hallway walks past, and his soft footsteps are the only thing that pulls you back to the train for a second. You hear the thud-thud of his boots on the red carpet and the clink of a tea glass. He is part of the real world, the world of iron and steam. You go back to your book, back to the world of paper and ink. The two worlds are both very kind to you tonight. The light from the lamp catches the edge of the page, casting a long, soft shadow across the book. You realize how still you have become. Only your eyes and your thumb are moving. The rest of your body is completely relaxed under the heavy grey blankets. You feel the warmth from the floor pipes soaking into your back. It is the perfect environment for a reader. You don't have to worry about cold hands or a draft on your neck. The mahogany and the wool are protecting you, allowing you to focus entirely on the story. You think about the people who wrote the books in the train's library. They probably never imagined their words would be read in the middle of a Siberian snowdrift. But that is the beauty of a book. It is a message sent through time and space. You feel a connection to the writer, as if they are sitting in the room with you, whispering the story into your ear. It makes the lonely forest outside feel much less empty. You are surrounded by voices, even in the silence. The book is getting heavier in your hands. Your wrists feel a little bit weak, and the leather cover feels cool against your palms. You decide to read just one more page. You follow the lines of text to the bottom, where the page number is printed in a small, fancy font. You reach the end of the paragraph and let out a long, happy sigh. The story has done its job. It has calmed your mind and prepared you for sleep. You have travelled far in your mind, and now you are ready to stay right here. You place the blue silk ribbon back between the pages and close the book. The leather cover makes a soft thump as it shuts. You set the book back on the table, next to the empty tea glass. The silver leaf on the ribbon catches the last of the orange light. You feel a sense of completion. The evening is over, and the night has truly begun. The night shift continues its quiet work, but your work, the work of enjoying the journey, is done for now. You lean back and look at the ceiling. The shadows move slowly, dancing to the rhythm of the engine's distant breath. You feel very light, as if the story you read has lifted the weight of the day from your shoulders. Your mind is full of pleasant images of gardens and sun. The white wind outside is just a background noise now, a soft hum that reminds you of how lucky you are to be inside. You are tucked in, you are warm, and you are peaceful. The night shift worker makes one more pass down the hall. You hear him pause near the Samovar. The sound of the brass tap turning creak hiss ass. He fills a glass. He is staying awake, so you don't have to. You feel a wave of gratitude for him and for the writer of your book. They have both given you a gift tonight. You close your eyes and let the warmth of the room wash over you like a gentle tide. You are safe. The book is closed. The lamp is low. You are ready to let the story of the night take over. You are drifting, turning the pages of your own dreams. Everything is quiet. Everything is well. You decide it is finally time to close the world away. You reach toward the window, where the thick blue curtains are held back by a heavy gold cord. These curtains are made of a special cloth called damask. It is a very thick and heavy fabric, woven with patterns of roses and vines, that you can only see when the light hits them just right. The cloth feels cool and smooth, like the skin of a plum. You undo the gold cord, and the heavy fabric falls into place with a soft whump. As you pull the curtains across the glass, the last bit of the white world disappears. You can no longer see the dancing snow or the dark shadows of the trees. The room feels different immediately. It becomes a private cocoon. The blue curtains are so thick that they act like a second wall, catching any tiny bits of cold that might have sneaked past the double glass. They also muffle the sound of the wind. The high whistle of the storm turns into a very low, distant hum. It feels like you have stepped into a quiet library in the middle of a big city. Here is a historical fact about these curtains. In the old days of the Russian Empire, curtains like these were not just for show. They were a vital part of the train's heating system. Because the winters were so cold, the builders used triple-layer curtains. There was the pretty blue damask on the inside, a layer of thick wool felt in the middle, and a layer of tough linen on the side facing the window. This sand-richer fabric was better at stopping the cold than a brick wall would be. It kept the heat from the steam pipes trapped inside the room where you need it most. The micro-history of your curtains is found in the gold tassels at the bottom. Each tassel is made of hundreds of tiny silk threads, all tied together with a golden knot. At the very center of each tassel is a small lead weight. This weight is there for a very clever reason. When the train is moving fast and swaying around corners, the lead weights keep the curtains heavy and still. They stop the fabric from flapping around or letting in flashes of light from passing stations. Tonight, as the train sits still in the snow, the tassels hang perfectly straight, like little gold soldiers guarding your sleep. Take a moment to feel the absolute privacy of the room. With the curtains closed, you are in a world of your own making. There are no clocks to watch and no miles to count. You can't even tell if there is a moon outside or if the sky is pitch black. This feeling of being hidden is very relaxing. It is just you, the soft orange light of the lamp, and the heavy blue walls of cloth. You feel like a secret held deep inside the train. The night shift worker in the hallway knows you are here, but the rest of the world has forgotten you. It is a very peaceful kind of loneliness. The blue of the curtains is a very deep, calming color. It reminds you of the ocean at twilight. In the dim light, the patterns of the roses on the cloth seem to move slightly, as if they are swaying in a gentle breeze. You run your hand down the fold of the fabric. It is heavy and solid. You feel a sense of luxury that is very rare. Most people in the world never get to sleep behind such thick, beautiful curtains. You are being treated like a guest of honor in a moving palace. You think about the night shift workers who have to care for these fabrics. Every few months, the curtains are taken down and beaten with long wooden sticks to get the dust out. Then, they are pressed with heavy iron tools heated over a fire. It takes 2 men to lift just one set of these curtains because they are so heavy. The workers take great pride in making sure there isn't a single wrinkle in the blue cloth. Their hard work is what makes your room look so neat and perfect tonight. The room feels much warmer now that the glass is covered. You can feel the heat from the pipes under the floor rising up and staying near your bed. The curtains have shrunk the room, making it feel smaller and even more secure. You feel like you are in a small wooden box lined with velvet and silk. It is the perfect place to let go of your thoughts. You don't need to look outside anymore. You know what is there. The snow and the wind. You have seen enough of the winter for one night. You look at the gold cord you used to unfasten the curtains. It has a big, heavy knot at the end. You touch the silk threads of the cord. They feel cool and slippery. Everything in this room is made of the best materials the world can offer. It is a reminder that even in a place as wild as Siberia, humans can create a place of perfect grace. We can take the wool of the sheep, the silk of the worm, and the wood of the forest, and make a sanctuary. The light from the oil lamp reflects off the blue damask, giving the room a soft, underwater glow. You feel your breathing becoming very rhythmic. In and out, in and out. Your chest rises and falls under the heavy grey blankets. The world is very still. The night shift continues, but you are now completely separated from it. You are in the between time, that special moment just before you fall into a deep sleep. You think about the miles of snowdrifts outside. They are piling up against the side of the train, higher and higher, but you don't care. The snow is just another layer of insulation. It is a white wall outside the blue wall of the curtains. You are protected by layers and layers of cloth, wood, and ice. You are at the very center of a giant, quiet onion. Nothing can reach you here. You close your eyes and imagine the blue curtains staying closed all night long. They will hold the darkness in and the cold out. They will guard your dreams. You feel a wave of gratitude for the simple piece of cloth. It is a shield against the vastness of the world. You are tucked in, the curtains are drawn, and the night shift is watching. You can let the blue color fill your mind until everything turns to a soft, dark velvet. You are safe. The window is gone. The room is yours. You are ready to sleep. You lie still in the deep, warm dark of your room, and you think about what is happening on the other side of those blue curtains. The train has been sitting still for a long time now. Because the wind has been blowing the snow against the side of the carriage, something very interesting has happened. The snow has piled up so high that it has created solid walls all around the train. If you were to open the door and step outside, you would see that the train is sitting in a long, white tunnel. These are the snow walls, and they are one of the best friends a stuck traveller can have in the Siberian winter. Even though snow is made of ice, a big pile of it is actually very good at holding in heat. Think of it like a giant white brick wall. The wind can howl as much as it wants, but it cannot blow through several feet of packed snow. These walls act like a second skin for the train. They stop the freezing Siberian air from touching the metal sides of the carriages. This means the steam pipes under your floor don't have to work as hard to keep you warm. The snow is actually helping the engine. It is a gift from the storm. A white blanket that has been wrapped around the entire train. Here is a historical fact about life in the snow. The people who live in the far north of Russia have known about snow walls for thousands of years. They would often build small walls of snow around their wooden huts in the winter. They knew that if they could stop the wind, the house would stay much warmer inside. On the Trans-Siberian Railway, the workers sometimes used shovels to pile even more snow against the bottom of the carriages to keep the buffer areas warm. They turned the problem of the snow into a clever way to stay safe. The micro-history of this moment is found in the snow plow. At the very front of the engine, there is a giant piece of iron shaped like a V. This is the plow. When the train is moving, this iron shield pushes the snow to the left and right, creating the start of these walls. But tonight, because the train is stuck, the wind has finished the job the plow started. The snow has filled in the gaps, making the walls smooth and solid. If you could see the plow right now, it would be buried deep in a white mountain, resting after its long fight with the drift. Take a moment to imagine those white walls surrounding you. In the silence, you can feel the weight of the snow against the train. It is a very solid, heavy feeling. It makes the carriage feel like it is part of the ground. You are no longer on a moving machine. You are in a building made of iron, wood, and ice. The snow walls are silent. They don't rattle like the metal does, and they don't creak like the wood. They just sit there, holding back the winter. You feel a deep sense of security. The world is trying to freeze you, but it has accidentally built you a castle instead. You think about the night shift workers who might have to dig through these walls if the engine needs more water from a nearby tank, or if the driver needs to check the tracks. They have to use heavy iron shovels to cut a path through the white wall. The snow is so cold that it comes away in big, solid blocks, like white marble. The worker's breath turns to thick mist in the canyon between the train and the snow. It is a world of white and grey, lit only by the yellow glow of their lanterns. The presence of the snow walls makes the inside of your room feel even more special. You are in a warm red and blue room tucked inside a cold white wall. It is a beautiful contrast. You feel like a tiny seed inside a giant piece of fruit. The skin of the fruit is the snow, and you are safe at the heart of it. This thought makes your body feel very light and relaxed. You are not worried about the train being stuck. Being stuck means you are protected. You are exactly where you need to be. The air in your room is perfectly still now. The snow walls have stopped the tiny vibrations that the wind usually makes against the glass. The silence is so deep it feels like a physical thing. You can hear the very soft tick-tick of the lamp and the distant muffled breath of the engine. You feel like you are in a world where time has stopped moving. There is no tomorrow and no yesterday. There is only the warmth of the bed and the strength of the white walls. You think about the tiny animals that might be sleeping in tunnels inside these same snow walls. Field mice and small birds often hide in the snow to stay warm, just like you are doing. You are all part of the same winter story. You are all finding a way to survive the Great Siberian Way. The train is just a very big, very fancy version of a mouse's burrow. You feel a sense of connection to the wild world outside. You are all guests of the snow tonight. The night shift worker walks down the hall again. His footsteps a quiet reminder of the human world. He knows about the snow walls. He has seen them many times before. He knows that as long as the snow is piled high, his job is a little bit easier. The carriages will hold their heat and the passengers will sleep better. He is the guardian of this burrow, making sure the fire in the Samovar stays bright and the lamps stay lit. You look at the ceiling and imagine the snow piled up on the roof of the carriage. It is like a thick cap of white wall. Every inch of the train is being insulated by the storm. You feel a wave of sleepiness that is as heavy as the snow itself. Your mind feels soft and white, like a fresh drift. You are no longer thinking about the tracks or the engine. You are only thinking about the quiet, solid walls that are protecting you. The snow walls are a sign that the earth has taken care of you. It has wrapped you in a cold hug to keep you warm. It is a strange and wonderful thing. You feel a deep sense of trust in the world. You are safe. You are warm. The white walls are standing guard. You can let go of the day now. You can let the silence of the snow fill your mind. The engine gives a very faint, distant thump. It is a sound of peace. The night shift is in control. The snow is deep and the walls are strong. You are tucked in, and you are ready to dream. All is well in your white castle. Everything is exactly as it should be. As you lie in the absolute stillness of your cabin, your ears begin to pick up tiny, delicate sounds that you missed before. Now that the roar of the wind is muffled by the snow walls and the curtains are drawn, the room reveals its own secret music. You hear a small tick, then a tiny pop. A moment later, there is a sound like a fingernail gently tapping against a silver bell. These are the tiny sounds of the ice. They're coming from the window glass and the metal frames. Even though you're warm and safe, the freezing world outside is still trying to talk to you. These sounds happen because of the great battle between the heat of your room and the cold of the Siberian night. The window glass is very thick, but it still moves just a tiny bit as it gets colder on the outside and stays warm on the inside. Every time the temperature changes by even a single degree, the glass and the brass frames grow or shrink by a tiny fraction of an inch. When they move, they make these little clicking and popping sounds. It is like the train is talking in its sleep. It is a very peaceful sound, a rhythmic mechanical heartbeat that tells you the barriers are holding strong. Here is a historical fact about these sounds. In the early days of travel, people were sometimes scared by these noises. They thought the glass was breaking or the train was falling apart. But the night shift workers, the experienced provodniks, would tell the passengers that these sounds were a good sign. They called it the Song of the Iron. It meant that the metal was strong and flexible. If the metal didn't move and make those sounds, it might become brittle and snap like a dry twig. The pops and ticks are the sound of the train staying healthy in the cold. The micro-history of these sounds is found in the putty used around the windows. This is a special mix of linseed oil and chalk that stays soft for a long time. It acts like a cushion between the hard glass and the heavy brass frame. As the ice builds up on the outside, it presses against the glass, and the putty allows the window to breathe without cracking. You can imagine the workers in the train depot back in Moscow using small wooden tools to press this fresh, sweet-smelling putty into the frames to make sure your night is quiet and draft-free. Take a moment now to just listen to these tiny pops. Each sound is different. One is a high-pitched ping, like a tiny needle hitting a glass. Another is a low, dull thud, like a piece of wood settling into place. You find that you can almost predict when the next one will happen. They come in a slow, steady rhythm. Tick, pause, click, pause. It is very hypnotic. It reminds you of a clock, but it is a clock that doesn't care about hours or minutes. It only cares about the balance between the fire and the ice. You feel your mind following these sounds into a deeper state of relaxation. You think about the ice forming on the outside of the glass. It is growing in thick, heavy sheets. Each layer of ice adds more weight to the train, pressing it down into the snow. But the night shift workers are not worried. They know that this ice is just another layer of protection. It is a clear, frozen shield. The tiny sounds you hear are the ice adjusting itself to the shape of the carriage. It is as if the winter is trying to build a custom-made suit of armor for the train. The sound of the ice is very crisp. It makes you think of frozen lakes where the ice is so thick you can drive a horse and carriage over it. You imagine the big cracks that form in the lake ice, making loud booming sounds like cannons. But here, the sounds are small and friendly. They are indoor sounds. They remind you that you are in a protected space. You are the observer of the cold, not its victim. The mahogany walls around you feel even more solid when you hear the ice trying to get in and failing. You feel the warmth of the grey wool blanket against your chin. The contrast between the icy sounds and the woolly feeling is very pleasant. It is the best way to experience the winter, knowing it is there, hearing its voice, but feeling none of its bite. You are tucked into the very center of the night shift world. The worker in the hallway hears these same sounds as he walks his beat. To him, they are a familiar comfort. They are the background noise of his life on the rails. The oil lamp on the wall gives a tiny flicker that matches one of the pops from the window. It is as if the light and the ice are having a conversation. You watch the shadows dance on the blue damask curtains. The room feels very alive, even though it is so still. There is a lot of energy moving through the walls and the glass. It is the energy of the steam and the energy of the winter. They are pushing against each other, and you are resting in the peaceful space between them. You think about the night shift guard's lantern. He carries a special lamp with a red glass side and a clear glass side. If he sees anything wrong, he can turn the red light toward the engine. But tonight, he only uses the clear light. He is checking the brass handles and the leather seals. He hears the tiny sounds of the ice too, and he smiles to himself. He knows the train is doing its job. He knows the passengers are warm. He is the master of this mechanical orchestra. Your breathing is very slow now. You find that you are waiting for the next ping from the window. When it comes, it feels like a little reward. It is a very gentle way to keep your mind focused on the present moment. You aren't thinking about the snowdrifts or the delay. You are just listening to the ice. It is a very simple and very beautiful way to spend the night. You feel like you are part of a secret club of travelers who know the true music of the Siberian Railway. The engine gives a very soft, muffled hiss from far away. It is like a deep bass drum joining the tiny bells of the ice. The symphony of the night shift is complete. You have the high notes of the ice, the middle notes of the steam pipes, and the low notes of the boiler. It is a song of survival. It is a song of heat. You feel a wave of sleepiness wash over you, guided by the rhythm of the clicks and pops. You close your eyes, but the sounds continue. In the dark, they seem even clearer. You can almost see the tiny movements of the brass and the glass. You feel a sense of total trust. The train has been through this many times before. It knows how to handle the ice. It knows how to keep the warmth. You are just a passenger in its strong wooden arms. You can let the tiny sounds carry you away. You are safe. The ice is singing you to sleep. The night shift is watching. The pops and ticks are your lullaby. You are tucked in, you are warm, and you are ready. All is well in the frozen world. You sink deeper into the bed, feeling the full weight of your body supported by the soft cushions. There is no place in the world you would rather be right now than right here. Your bed is a small island of perfect comfort. You have the soft feather pillow under your head, the smooth linen sheets against your skin, and the heavy grey wool blankets on top. It is the best place to be because it is the only place where the night shift allows you to truly let go. You don't have to stand or walk or hold a tea glass. You only have to exist in the warmth. The bed is built into the wall of the carriage, which means it is part of the train itself. When you lie here, you are connected to the mahogany, the iron, and the steam. You can feel the gentle warmth of the pipes coming through the base of the bed, warming the cushions until they feel like they have just come out of a sunny garden. This is a deep rest. It is the kind of rest where you can feel every muscle in your back and shoulders slowly relaxing, one by one. The tension of the long journey is being pulled out of you by the softness of the bed. Here is a historical fact about sleeping on these trains. In the first-class carriages of the Trans-Siberian Express, the beds were designed to be wider than those in any other country. Because the Russian tracks were wider, the rooms could be bigger. The beds were not just narrow bunks, they were almost as wide as a bed you would find in a fine hotel in London. This meant you could stretch out your arms and legs without touching the walls. For a traveller in the year 1905, this was the height of luxury. It turned a difficult journey into a peaceful holiday. The micro-history of your bed is found in the bed warmer. Although the steam pipes do a wonderful job, the night shift worker sometimes provides an extra bit of comfort. He uses a hot water bottle made of heavy copper. It is shaped like a flat oval with a brass screw-top lid. Before you got into bed, he slid this copper bottle under the blankets near the foot of the bed. It is wrapped in a soft piece of flannel cloth so it doesn't feel too hot against your feet. You can feel it now, a solid, warm weight that keeps your toes perfectly toasted all night long. Take a moment to enjoy the feeling of your bed. You are perfectly still. You can feel the soft press of the pillow against your cheek. You can feel the heavy woolen hug of the blankets. The room is a dark, warm cocoon, and your bed is the very center of it. You feel a sense of total peace. There is nothing you need to do, and nowhere you need to go. The snow walls are guarding the train, and the night shift workers are guarding the hallway. You are free to simply rest. This is a rare gift in a busy world, a moment of complete and total safety. You think about the contrast between your bed and the world outside. Out there, the snow is dry and the wind is sharp. If a person were to lie down in the snow, the cold would take their strength in minutes. But here, the bed is full of life and heat. It is a victory over the winter. You feel a deep gratitude for the inventors and the workers who made this bed possible. They took the raw materials of the earth and turned them into a place of dreams. You feel like you're being looked after by the whole history of human cleverness. The night shift worker in the hallway knows that the beds are the most important part of the carriage. He moves quietly past the doors, listening for the soft, steady breathing of the passengers. If he hears someone tossing and turning, he might check the steam valve to make sure the room isn't too hot. He is the guardian of sleep. He knows that a well-rested passenger is a happy passenger. He takes pride in the fact that, under his watch, the world can disappear for a few hours. The bed has its own scent too. It is a mix of the clean linen, the faint smell of the wool, and the sweet scent of the lavender that was used to wash the sheets. It is a very indoor smell that makes you feel protected. You take a slow, deep breath, and the scent fills your lungs, making your head feel light and sleepy. You feel like you are floating on a sea of soft fabric. The vibrations of the engine, which you can still feel very faintly, act like a gentle rocking motion. You look at the dark mahogany of the wall next to your face. The wood is so close that you can see the tiny patterns in the grain. It looks like a map of a quiet land. You follow the lines of the wood with your eyes until they blur together. You are sinking deeper and deeper into the cushions. The bed is holding you close, telling you that it is okay to close your eyes. You feel a wave of warmth move from the copper bottle at your feet all the way up to your shoulders. It is a very heavy, sweet feeling. The orange light of the lamp is just a soft memory now. You can't even see the blue of the curtains or the red of the velvet. The world has become a place of pure feeling. You feel the softness, the warmth, and the stillness. You are a part of the train, and the train is a part of the snow. Everything is connected in a giant, quiet circle of rest. You are safe in the heart of the Great Siberian Way. You think about the morning, but it feels like it is 1,000 years away. The night is long, and that is a good thing. It gives you more time to enjoy the bed. It gives you more time to listen to the silence. You feel a sense of wealth that has nothing to do with gold. You have a warm bed in a cold world, and that is the greatest treasure of all. You are a king in a velvet castle, and the winter is your silent guard. You close your eyes, and the image of the soft grey blankets is the last thing you see. You feel your breathing match the slow, steady rhythm of the steam pipes. In and out. In and out. In and out. You are no longer a traveller on a journey. You are just a person in a bed, and that is enough. The night shift is awake, the engine is breathing, and the watch is being kept. You can sleep now. You are safe. You are warm. The bed is the best place to be. The night has become very long and very still. You are floating in that deep part of the night where time doesn't seem to have a shape anymore. Outside the train, the sun is on the other side of the world, and the stars are hidden behind the thick snow clouds. But inside, the world is perfect. It is a long and quiet night. The night shift worker has finished his main rounds. He is now sitting at his small desk at the end of the hall, the soft light of a single lamp reflecting off his brass buttons. He is watching over the silence. The stillness of a stopped train is different from the stillness of a house. In a house, the ground is always there, solid and unmoving. But on the train, you are aware that you are on a path. Even though the wheels are not turning, the train feels like it is holding its breath, waiting for the moment it can move again. This makes the quiet feel very special. It is a waiting quiet. It is a silence that is full of potential. You lie there and listen to the nothingness. It is a deep, heavy sound that fills the room like a soft mist. Here is a historical fact about these quiet nights. In the winter, the Trans-Siberian Railway would often experience something called ice locking. This is when the moisture in the air freezes the train parts so tightly that even the big engine cannot move them at first. To prevent this, the night shift workers have to walk the length of the train every few hours and gently move the heavy iron couplings, the big hooks that hold the cars together. This small movement keeps the ice from turning the whole train into one solid block of frozen iron. It is a quiet, heavy task that happens while you're dreaming. The micro-history of this quiet night is found in the felt slippers worn by the workers. To make sure they don't wake up the sleeping passengers, the provodniks change out of their heavy leather boots and into soft slippers made of thick grey felt. These slippers are very similar to the Vilenki boots you wore earlier, but they have no hard soles. They are like giant, thick socks. When the worker walks down the hall, his feet make no sound at all. He is like a ghost moving through the mahogany corridors. This is why the night feels so quiet. Even the people moving through it are silent. Take a moment to sink into the deep stillness. Your breathing is the only thing you can hear. It is a slow, rhythmic sound. Ha! Ha! It sounds like the wind outside. but it is warm and safe. You feel like the silence is a physical weight, pressing you down into the soft cushions of the bed. It is not a heavy weight that hurts. It is a weight that comforts, like a heavy blanket made of air. You feel your mind becoming as empty and white as the snow outside. There are no thoughts of work, or family, or the future. There is only the quiet. You think about the people in the other carriages. There are hundreds of people on this train, and they are all sharing this same quiet night. You are all tucked into your separate wooden boxes, wrapped in wool and velvet. You are like birds in a giant nest, waiting for the storm to pass. This thought makes you feel connected to everyone else, even though you can't see them. You are all part of the night shift story. You are all guests of the Russian winter. The quiet allows you to notice the smell of the room again. It has changed slightly as the night has gone on. The smoky smell of the coal is very faint now, replaced by the clean, dry scent of the wood and the soft smell of the lamp oil. It is a very still smell. It doesn't move. It just hangs in the air, warm and comforting. You feel like you are breathing in the history of the train. You are breathing in the peace of the forest. The engine gives a very soft, muffled clink from far away. It is so quiet that you might have imagined it. It is like a single note played on a piano in a distant room. It only serves to make the silence that follows feel even deeper. You find yourself waiting for another sound, but none comes. The world is content to be still. The snow walls are doing their job, holding the noise of the world away from your ears. You feel a deep sense of trust in the night. Sometimes the dark can be a scary thing, but not here. Here, the dark is a friend. It is the canvas that the night shift uses to paint your rest. The workers are staying awake so that the night can be quiet for you. They are the guardians of the hush. You feel a wave of gratitude for the man in the felt slippers. Because of his quiet feet, your dreams remain unbroken. You look at the ceiling, though you can't see much in the dark. You imagine the millions of snowflakes falling outside, each one adding to the silence. Snow is a natural sound absorber. It eats up noise. With several feet of snow all around the train, you are in the quietest place on earth. It is a rare and beautiful experience. Most of the time, the world is full of shouting and clatter, but tonight, the world has been silenced by the white hand of the winter. You feel your heartbeat in your ears. It is a steady, slow drum. Thump, 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 thump. It is the only clock you need tonight. You are not in a hurry for the morning to come. You are happy to stay in this quiet between time for as long as the night lasts. You feel like you have been given a secret gift tonight where nothing happens. In a world that is always moving, a night that stands still is a wonderful thing. The night shift worker at the end of the hall turns a page in his logbook. You can't hear it, but you can imagine the soft scritch of his pen as he writes down that everything is quiet. He is the witness to this peace. He is the one who will remember how still the train was in the middle of the Siberian forest. You feel a sense of harmony with him. You are both part of the night's rhythm. You close your eyes and let the quiet fill your head. It is like a cool, clear pool of water. You are sinking into it, letting the silence wash away the last bits of the day. You are perfectly comfortable. You are perfectly warm. The long night is your friend, and the silence is your blanket. You are ready to let the last of your thoughts drift away into the white void. You are safe. The night is quiet. The watch is being kept. You are pulled gently from the deep ocean of sleep by a change in the air. It is not a sound or a movement, but a shift in the quality of the light. You open your eyes just a tiny bit, and even though the heavy blue damask curtains are still tightly closed, you can tell that the world is changing. A very soft, thin line of grey light is beginning to peek through the tiny gap where the two curtains meet. This is the first light of morning in Siberia. It is a quiet silver light that doesn't have any warmth yet, but it tells you that the long night of the night shift is coming to an end. You lie very still, watching that thin sliver of light. It touches the dark mahogany of the opposite wall, turning the deep red wood into a soft, dusty grey. The room is still very cold near the window, but you are tucked so deeply into your nest of wool and linen that you don't feel it. You feel like a witness to a secret. The rest of the train is still asleep. The hallway is quiet, and the engine is still giving its low, steady hum. But out there, beyond the snow walls, the sun is trying to find its way back to the world. Here is a historical fact about the morning on the Russian tracks. Because Siberia is so far north, the winter mornings can be very late. Sometimes the sun doesn't truly appear until 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. This means the night shift workers have to work in the dark for a very long time. They use this grey pre-dawn time to prepare the train for the day ahead. They are the ones who see the first light while everyone else is dreaming. They call this light the white dawn because it makes the snow look like it is glowing from within. The micro-history of this first light is found in the frost flowers on the outside of the carriage. Now that there is a little bit of light, if you were to peek behind the curtain, you would see that the ice has grown into giant crystalline shapes. Because the train stood still all night, the moisture from the engine steam has frozen onto the metal in beautiful feathery patterns. These are called rime ice. It looks like the train has grown a coat of white lace. The workers call these Siberian flowers. They are beautiful, but they are also very heavy. Before the train can move, the workers will have to use wooden mallets to gently knock this ice away, so the doors and wheels can move freely. Take a moment to watch the grey light grow. It is a very slow process. The light doesn't jump into the room, it crawls. You watch the way it slowly reveals the details of your cabin. First, you see the silver glint of the tea holder on the table. Then the gold tassels on the curtains. Finally, you see the texture of the grey wool blanket covering your chest. The room is coming back to life piece by piece. You feel a sense of calm wonder. You have survived the long frozen night, and a new day is being born right in front of you. You think about the fireman at the front of the train. He has been awake all night, and now his face is covered in black coal dust and sweat. He looks out of the small round window of the engine cab and sees the same grey light. To him, it is a sign that he will soon be able to hand over his shovel to the day shift. He has kept the fire alive through the hardest part of the night. He has won the battle against the cold. You feel a deep respect for his strength as the light touches your pillow. The air in the room feels very fresh. The night shift worker in the hallway has probably opened one of the ceiling vents just a tiny bit to let in the crisp morning air. You can smell the scent of the snow, a sharp, metallic smell that is different from the warm smells of the night. It mixes with the faint scent of the tea and the wood, making the room feel clean and new. You take a deep, slow breath. The morning air makes you feel awake but still very relaxed. The engine gives a slightly louder hiss than before. It is as if the giant is stretching its iron limbs. You hear a muffled clank from somewhere outside. It is the sound of a worker clearing the ice from the couplings. Clink, clink, thud. It is a busy, purposeful sound. The night shift is handing over the watch to the day. The world of the train is starting to wake up. You feel a sense of excitement, but you are not ready to get out of bed just yet. The warmth is too good. You look at the frost on the window again. In the grey light, it looks like real silver. The tiny ice trees and fern leaves are perfectly clear. You think about the white world outside the snow walls. It is no longer a dark void. It is a giant sparkling desert of white and blue. The sun, even if it is hidden by clouds, is making the millions of snow crystals shine like tiny stars. It is a beautiful thought. The world is being revealed again, and it is clean and pure. The night shift worker walks past your door, and this time his footsteps are a little firmer. He is no longer wearing the felt slippers. He has put his leather boots back on. He is going to the Samovar to start a fresh pot of tea for the morning. You hear the water bubbling, a happy morning sound. The rhythm of the train is changing from the sleepy pace of the night to the busy pace of the trip. You are part of that change. You feel the heat from the floor pipes is still steady. It is the one thing that hasn't changed. The engine is still giving you the gift of warmth, even as the world turns grey and silver. You pull the blanket up to your ears and watch the line of light on the wall get a little wider. It is now a soft, pale yellow. The sun is getting higher. You feel a wave of peace. The night was long, the snow was deep, and the wind was loud. But you are here. You are warm. You are safe. You think about the tracks stretching out ahead of the train. They are still there, hidden under the white blanket, waiting to guide you home. The iron and the wood have done their job. They have kept you safe in the middle of a storm. You feel a sense of harmony with the machine and the land. The journey will continue soon. The snowplow will push through the drift, and the wheels will start their clack-clack song once more. You close your eyes for just a moment longer, soaking up the last of the between time. The light is now strong enough that you can see the colour of the blue curtains through your eyelids. It is a soft glowing blue. You feel very happy and very lucky. You have seen the night shift at its most beautiful. You have seen how the world works while everyone else is asleep. The watch is almost ended. The morning is here. You lie in the soft glow of the morning, watching the room slowly fill with a pale silver light. It is time to wake up for the trip. The transition from sleep to the world of the living is slow and gentle, like the rising of the sun itself. You feel the weight of the grey wool blankets on your body, a final heavy hug from the night. You reach out a hand and push back the heavy blue curtains just a few inches. The light that floods in is so bright it makes you blink. The white world is no longer a dark secret. It is a sparkling, brilliant reality. Outside, the snow walls have settled. The wind has stopped completely, leaving the Siberian forest in a state of perfect, frozen peace. The sky is a very pale blue, the color of a robin's egg. You see the tops of the pine trees in the distance, their branches heavy with thick white pillows of snow. They look like giant powdered cakes. The world is so clean and so still that it feels like a dream. But the sound of the engine tells you that the day has truly begun. The engine is no longer whispering. The night shift has come to an end, and the workers of the day are taking over. You hear the deep, powerful thumpishes of the boiler as the fireman adds more coal. The vibration in the floor changes. It is no longer a sleepy hum, it is a strong, rhythmic pulse. The engine is building up its strength, getting ready to push its iron nose through the great snowdrift that has held you all night. You can hear the steam whistling through the pipes with a new energy, a sound of purpose and movement. Here is a historical fact about the morning start. When a steam train has been sitting in the cold for a long time, the oil in the wheels gets as thick as honey. To get the train moving again, the driver has to use a special trick. He moves the engine a few inches backward first, then a few inches forward. This is called taking up the slack. It helps to break the ice on the wheels and get the grease flowing. It is a slow and careful start, like an old man getting out of a chair, but once the iron starts to roll, nothing can stop it. The micro-history of your morning is found in the washing stand. In the corner of your room, hidden behind a small mahogany door, is a tiny silver sink. You open the door and find a small brass tap and a piece of fresh soap. The soap is wrapped in paper and smells of pine and lemon. When you turn the tap, the water comes out steaming hot. This water has been heated by the same fire that moves the train. As you wash your face, the warmth of the water wakes up your skin. It is a simple luxury that makes you feel like a new person, ready for the thousands of miles that lie ahead. Take a moment to feel the first movements of the train. There is a loud clank from the front, followed by a long, low groan of metal. The carriage shivers. You feel a tiny tug, then another. The snow walls outside the window start to move very slowly at first. You see a branch of the pine tree slide past, then another. The train is moving. The clack, clack of the wheels hitting the rails begins again, a slow and steady heartbeat. Clack, clack, clack. You are no longer stuck. You are a traveler again, moving across the great white face of Russia. You see the man in the blue coat one last time. He knocks softly on your door and brings a fresh glass of tea in its silver holder. He looks tired, but he is smiling. His part of the night shift is over. He has kept you warm. He has kept the lights burning, and he has guarded your sleep. Soon he will go to his own small bed to rest, while the sun is high. You give him a nod of thanks as you take the hot tea. The tea tastes of the same smoky campfire as before, a reminder of the long, peaceful night you have just finished. The room feels different now that it is moving. The shadows are gone, replaced by the dancing light of the sun on the snow. The mahogany walls look bright and cheerful. The blue velvet of the seats is soft and inviting in the daylight. You feel a sense of accomplishment. You have crossed the dark forest in your sleep. You have lived through a Siberian storm in a palace made of wood and iron. You feel strong and rested, ready to see what the next part of the journey will bring. Outside the window, the snow plow is doing its work. You see giant sprays of white powder flying off to the sides of the track, like waves of water behind a fast boat. The train is cutting its own path through the wilderness. You look back at the spot where you were stuck, but it is already disappearing into the distance. The white walls are fading, and the forest is opening up. You are part of the great movement of the world again. You take a sip of your tea and lean back against the cushions. The warmth of the steam pipes is still there, a constant friend under your feet. The journey is long, but you are not worried. You know that when the sun goes down again, the night shift will return. The lamps will be lit, the Samovar will bubble, and the heavy wool blankets will be waiting for you. The train is a world that never sleeps, a place of constant care and steady heat. The engine gives a long, triumphant whistle. Woo-woo! Woo-woo! The sound echoes off the frozen trees and carries across the empty plains. It is a sound of victory. It tells the world that the Trans-Siberian Express is on its way. You feel a thrill of excitement in your chest. You are part of something giant and wonderful. You are a passenger on the most famous railway in the world, tucked into a room of velvet and gold, moving through a land of ice and fire. The sun is getting cold now, turning the white world into a sea of diamonds. You watch the trees go by, faster and faster. The clack-clack of the wheels is a happy song now. You are safe. You are warm. The trip has begun again. You take one last look at the empty bed where you slept so well. It is a place of peace that you will always remember. The morning is bright. The air is clear. The train is moving. You have survived the night shift in the snow, and you are ready for the day. Everything is exactly as it should be. The world is big, but you are home in your wooden room. The sun is rising. The world is waking up from its long white sleep. You can feel the new energy in the air as the train moves forward. The long shadows of the night are gone, replaced by the clear, honest light of a new day. You are safe in the arms of the morning. The heat from the pipes is a steady reminder of the fire that burns for you, and the rhythm of the wheels is a promise of the miles you will travel. You have been a guest of the night shift, and now you are a guest of the day. Feel your body becoming light and ready. The stillness of the snowdrift is behind you, and the beauty of the journey is ahead. Take a deep, slow breath of the morning air. You are rested. You are whole. You are ready to see the world. The sun is rising. The gates are opening. The watch is ended.